I think 2/3 of all USDC payments through all the chains, and most of the stablecoin payments, 76% of stablecoin payments happen between businesses. So this is the big vertical. But for them to be able to trust us, we need to show the code verification that nothing can happen to their money, nothing, but like we have no authority of the data, we have no access. We need to show that, and that will open adoption and access and clients that are inaccessible for Claude and ChatGPT and others just because of the way they work. And that's a very unique vertical with very unique access that would allow us to make a lot of money for our holders.
Can we talk about a few things? Firstly, clientele, and you just mentioned making a lot of money for your holders. So I'm gonna at some point get to why you guys went with MetaDAO and that was your choice and why you chose to raise there. But let's talk first about what did I say first?
While you get your thoughts together, Dom, you mentioned that you have to first prove it. Like, what's the step? What's the step to prove? What's the step for the proof of concept there?
You mean that nothing happens to your data?
Yeah, you mentioned that you guys don't control anything. Your data is fully protected. How do you prove that to some of these enterprise clients?
So it all comes back to hardware verification. We use two things. We use Million for user-owned storage. They're using like a mix of MPCs. Give me a second. I need to. I'm sorry. Thank you. So I'm using Million. We're using Million for user-owned data storage. You have an article on the main screen right now. So they're using a mix of MPC and TEs. So essentially, we use hardware-backed verification, like hardware signatures, to verify the code that's being run on the machine. So one of the unique things about confidential machines is that they can kind of make a snapshot of what's being run within them, and they can show that snapshot with hardware signature. There's like certain chips that do that, and that allows us to show that hash, like signed hash, and point to the hash from our GitHub and say, like, look, these are the same hashes, and look, this is the hardware signature from that machine. It means that as long as you can trust the data center that the machine is in, you can trust that the code that's being executed is the same code that you see on our GitHub. It means that you can sit down, you can audit our code, you can verify that nothing is getting leaked anywhere, and as long as you can see the signature and this hash, and it all matches, it means that you can trust that code. You see?
Got it. And Dom, I know you had a question.
Yeah. On the terms of clientele, can you talk a little bit about who you're talking to, the conversations you're having, how many clients you have, all of that good stuff?
Well, we raised like 2 weeks ago. Rodion, when was it?
3 weeks ago.
Yeah, 3 weeks ago. So right now,
if you let me.
Yeah, go for it.
So as Chris mentioned, we really love how Squads scaled and what they did. So basically, they developed their infrastructure and Flagman. Well, not Flagman, but their own apps at the same time. So for example, MetaDAO uses Squads things in the backend. Multisig, for example, and at the same time, Squads is like a real business. It has its own apps. It has its own like end clients. So we are taking the same approach here. As soon as we finish our open test and go to the mainnet, we plan to not delay it for too long and to go until the end of this year.
To go mainnet.
Come again?
You mean to go to mainnet until the end of this year?
Yeah, so and we'll work on the end user adoption. And at the same time, we are looking and we're actually negotiating with 2 potential customers who are just interested in fast private inference with on-chain payments. So they have their own apps, but they work with their users' sensitive data, and they need like a hard proof that nothing is being extracted, nothing is being saved, and so they only do that one thing they need to do, and that's it.
Are these like finance companies that need this? Like what's the client profile here?
So for the client that Rodion described is AdTech, and we also have finance companies. So like the example of email sending, it's literally from my conversation with Stefan. The title of his presentation for Breakpoint is literally Autopilot for Finance, and there is big role that Loyal can play within all of that because we're deep AI nerds who really know what they're doing. So we see building the idea of like autopilot. I don't really like the word autopilot because it means that it's worse than the actual pilot, but like this command center for all stuff on chain. Yes, that's something that we aspire to do because for some reason no one has been able to crack AI for finance, and we want to change that. We want to give all the crypto nerds AI tools as well because yeah. because we really know how to do it, how to make it happen.
Well, you called yourself at the start of the show the AI boys, and then now you're
Yes,
saying
we
you're
are.
AI nerds. We haven't really talked about the team yet. I have this pulled up in
Yes.
your docs here. Maybe like just walk us through everyone's position. Obviously, we can start with you, Chris, and then we can just move through.
Well, I'm the person who codes it up, builds it up. I'm like deeply technical guy. I talk a lot, so I'm the face of this project a lot. So we have Rodion. Yes, that's
enjoying a nice beer there.
Yes, in San Diego actually. Yes. And this guy looks like a Greek statue. I've been told. Right, Rodion, speak for yourself. No, actually, when we were rating, like people were making like images of him as a Greek statue.
Very stoic.
No, I was very jealous of that. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, hey, just so you know, Rodion, people that like to talk a lot, like myself, I put myself in that camp. We get anxiety when no one else is talking.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of always anxious to interrupt people. So I always give the chance like to finish the thoughts, and it never finishes. So I kind of
never done. But yeah, like so Rodion and I were best friends since like 2020. I want to say like before like when college happened, like met Rodion and we hit it off. And then two other guys, they've been best friends since they were 9. They've known each other since like primary school. They've been friends through school, through college, and now they're still best friends, which is kind of wild.
I love that picture. It feels like you just asked him to take a picture. He's like,
yeah. Is he a developer?
He's PhD
in
AI computational neuroscience. Yeah. He's deeply tapped in.
Not to call out dev brain, but sometimes like as a marketing person, you'll be like, oh, I need a headshot, and it's just like, dev brain is just like, yep.
Yeah, because I look at all your photos. This is like, I mean, we got like a model, a stoic shot here. We got a personality shot. This one's artsy, and then then we got Basil over here.
Well, like I'm not going. It's like this is the only normal photo we have of him. Like all the rest is like some like in the mountains with like deer or something. I don't know.
Hey, it's good. It's a straight up shot. Yeah.
No, it's like you can tell who has autism in the team. It's like, oh, this one will get us to unicorn.
He's a real AI researcher. We know. We got it. If he's good looking, then like he's pulling way too much. But if he's he's AI researcher, we got it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Let's talk about the token and the launch with MetaDAO.
Oh, dude, MetaDAO was like, if anyone's what do you mean if you guys are planning to do MetaDAO launch, like anyone who's listening, you should, because the amount of support and experience that the ecosystem accumulated is kind of insane. Because I met, so my team is like AI skeptics. They don't like trust easily. Okay, I'm ready to jump into anything, but they're very slow. And I started talking about MetaDAO, launching MetaDAO all the way in May, and like I was grinding down. The team was like, no, we need to launch. And like only after all of my team members like Matt Holland, Matt Profit, they're like, yo, these guys, they like. I remember like the quote that one of my co-founders said about Holland, like one of the founders of MetaDAO. It went something like, he's either very, very convincing scammer, or they actually believe in what they're doing, and we need to like go with it. And it was honestly amazing. It was honestly amazing because the amount of advice and support and wisdom that they were able to share with us is insane. Because we did the race for 4 days straight, and we streamed for 48 hours of it. So like I streamed the first 25 hours nonstop, like developing, and the last 23 hours basically. So it was very intense, and obviously we got a lot of attention. And it's very like you're dealing with like people, and it's very hard to deal with large volume of attention at once. So MetaDAO was like there to help us out to figure that out. And also we wanted to we believe in public being able to access AI, and that was like part of our mission to let support us. We really believe in our mission to support us directly, and if we win, when we win together. That was like big effort for us. And I know that crypto was focused on trading and very bad user experience for a very long time, and we are coming in with trading, but very different type of trading and very different type of user experience. And we wanted to show that we actually believe in this, and we're not going to scam our users. And if they don't believe in us, they can always liquidate the treasury or do anything. We wanted to bring that in to kind of transform the trust between community and the founders. So
sorry, you just sugarcoating MetaDAO for 5 minutes straight.
I love it.
Blaze them up.
No, but they are.
How much did you guys raise?
We had 76 million committed.
Yeah, we raised 2.5 from 75 million committed. But I just wanted to take 1 minute to speak about the community itself, not MetaDAO, but the community of people who invest there. Like, obviously, there are a lot of tourists who just went to a new hyping launchpad. But like the OG futars who are there, they're really helpful. I mean, I did not expect that much help from the holder community, because these are really smart people who just not only invest in you, but they genuinely give you great feedback and just help basically every time you ask.
I will make you feel very old. But the community of futures reminds me of the early Bitcoin forums, you know, when OG cypherpunks were cypherpunk mailing lists, because they are very nerdy, but they're deeply tapped in, and they are incredibly helpful, incredible resources.
I would say the MetaDAO squad and the futars, as you put it, is probably one of the smarter cohorts in crypto right now. You got the Pump Fund crew, which is just left curve everything, low IQ. I think MetaDAO's on the opposite side of that spectrum.
Well, I will say this, something that Charlie actually said about Pump Fund and everything else kind of stuck with me. Is said that we need guys like Pump Fund, because those fees, that revenue, is how we fund DPN projects, is how we fund the infrastructure projects. So it's I would argue that MetaDAO would not be able to exist without the liquidity and the attention that Pump Fund, or this fast cash, fast promise of cash, is bringing to Solana. It's it's kind of balancing out. So we need people like guys like Alan behind Pump Fund. We need those ventures to also have the resources and the attention to be able to run our venture, what MetaDAO is doing.
Yeah. Well, we got roughly 5 minutes here before we have to wrap. So I think we want to start closing this off. But maybe just give some forward-looking vision, some high-level thoughts to kind of close off here and let people get excited about what you're building.
Dude, we are going to ship the standing money over Telegram literally this week. It will go in testing. We'll have public access to it. Next week, we'll start promoting it heavily, because we don't want to promote as heavy right now, because we want to show the killer features, because no one has done this deep Telegram integration the way we did. It's really cool. I'm really excited about that. So we'll have a lot of growth there. I think I'm very bullish about that. Rodin, what do you think?
Yeah, sorry, I'm being distracted because I got to prepare for the next call.
Oh, yes. And then we also go to Magic Block Hacker House in 2 weeks. When does it start?
Yeah, it'll start on 27.
Yeah, so two of my co-founders will go to Dubai for Magic Block Hacker House, offline event before Solana Breakpoint. So there will be a lot of great networking opportunities and great opportunities to onboard businesses on crypto, because as you mentioned, you are literally once we ship the good Telegram summons and good Telegram or loyal workflows, you are actually literally one of the clients that we can onboard and help you deal with the volume of information, with the donations, with paying the salaries, paying the invoices, and so on, and just make your life easier.
I not remember he mentioned it, but now he can't refute.
No, he did. They said that they're paying with USDC, with stablecoins, the stuff, and so on. So yes, we can help. They are actually one of the target audiences that they're targeting.
On the note of raising $2.5 million, what does your burn rate look like? What are you guys expanding to? You got some of this money. How does acceleration look?
So we have a spending limit of 60K. We'll have to raise a proposal to get higher than that. Right now, our spending burn rate is from 40, right now?
No, right now it's 30, but we are expanding the team because we need to hire devs. And now we don't spend much on the GPUs yet. Because at the early stages of growth, we will have to subsidize the inference.
Yeah.
And that would
while we're not in mainnet, because there's no way for us to pay for the infra, to make users pay for the request. So it's we are subsidizing for now. So we everything you see right now.
Let me just one for that stuff. We go for the mainnets because we managed to raise more than our initial goal. It's great, and now we will be able to incentivize builders that will use our infrastructure. So with hackathons, with just contributor programs. So that's where the larger part of our burn will go after we'll be on the mainnet.
Yeah, but it's I'm so excited for the. I will finish with the massive shout out to MetaDAO, massive shout out to Colin Profit, because it's loyal is such an obvious play to me. It will be so everything we do would be so obvious in the hindsight. It's you'll look down, you'll come back to this podcast, you're yeah, those statistic guys were barely putting two sentences together. They were right, and they actually had the vision and they made it through. And I did not believe in them, but now I do. So yeah.
Why is it so huge? Why is it so huge? Because every project needs, because AI needs security. Why is it so big? Maybe just closing thought there.
Well, we have tons of confirmations on the market already. Because if you take, for example, VVV coin, which is like Venice. Their value, I believe, at 50 million even right now, and all they do is just offer basic private AI, not even on-chain, just private AI models that you can call with like regular HTTP requests. And
but at the same time, I'm going to wrap up with this. So if you believe, here's the logic of the government. AI can increase your productivity. If we increase global productivity by 10% around the world, it means a lot of GDP for everyone. Everyone is getting way more. So they would want to put AI everywhere. It means that the industries that need privacy, education, law, healthcare, finance, they would need an agentic computer, in a way, a protected computer, encrypted intelligence to ensure the privacy and security of the data, to ensure that they're compliant with regulations. And it means that we're kind of the only one who can offer that, because like no one brings those type of guarantees.
Yep. Well, AI is certainly here to stay. So we're excited to watch you guys, discover the power of private AI. And we appreciate you coming on today.
No, thank you so much for having us. I love you guys. Love the show.
Yeah, dude. So maybe after you guys get this Telegram bot pushed out, a few more things, we'll try it, and we'll get you guys back on for a little update call.
Oh, that would be kind of sick. That would be kind of sick. Yes.
There we go.
Right.
Awesome.
Well, have a good show. Bye.
Peace.
See you
Thanks,
guys.
Bye.
Hey, everybody, I'm Jamie Poisson.
Hi guys.
GM.
One.
Yes, a lot of people are aware of that. It's like if you, especially like consumers less so, but professionals, yes, like there is a reason why lawyers still don't really have a simple right click to talk to the document, because that's one of the like legal framework is one of the biggest challenges, because no one can bring that guarantees that the data is safe and cannot be discovered against your will. You see, that's why I'll give you one real example. We talked, Alliance guys, like Alliance DAO and so on.
Yeah.
Like YC, arguably YC of crypto, love Alliance, great guys. And get this, they had 15 batches, and all of those batches, 10, 14 batches per batch, they're all on Telegram. Every day, they wake up to 200-300 new messages from all those groups. They need to kind of sort those messages. They need to understand priorities. They need to understand, like, if that matters, they need to respond. And it takes a lot of time, because Telegram, unlike emails, it's an immediate messaging platform. So you send the message, you immediately get the response. So the amount of time you need to invest just to stay on top of everything is insane. But at the same time, you cannot use ChatGPT to automate that, because you have chats with guys like Pampan, with a lot of trade secrets, with a lot of private discussions, and the risks of leaking at least some part of that discussion is like the costs there are going to be insane. It's like just like you can forget about Alliance brand if you leak anything, right? If like suddenly it gets discovered in court, that's a big issue, and that's one of the reasons why they kind of struggle to adopt any LLM tools, because they have those privacy related things. When you're talking about personalized healthcare, like, are you comfortable as a user to send your like blood analysis to Sam Altman? It's like obviously Sam Altman is not going to look person at it, but it's like the risk of stuff getting out there, getting leaked, it's a big issue. So we came into Loyal with the idea, how about we design a system that would have guarantees that the data has granular access levels, and you can control who can see the data and how the data is getting processed. How about we build it in a transparent way, completely in open source, that has guarantees that no one but you is reading the data, and that data is not going anywhere. And it's kind of a new way of looking at these things, that saying that you can use LLMs without compromising your security, without compromising your privacy, without compromising on the risks. So the idea is like to bring that privacy, but don't change.
So I got a question on this.
Sure.
Maybe walk the average user through this user experience. So right now, I go to the OpenAI tab here, go to ChatGPT, ask, create a legal document for this. Yeah. How is the experience different with Loyal?
Oh, that's a very good question. So right now, we are going to ensure the best and most similar user experience that can kind of relate to what user experience with ChatGPT. Like, the idea is that you have a chat interface with certain set of skills, essentially, that you can use to automate certain stuff. Like right now, we have swaps, so you can like say like, hey, I want to swap this to that, and it will automatically build the transaction for you. All you have to do is sign it. We also, this week, and I'm very excited about this, and very excited, we're shipping sending money using Telegram handles, and you can like send like, hey, can you send like, because my goal is like to be able to say send $100 to mom, and it immediately figures out the context, the handle, like Telegram handle. My mom uses Telegram, she's like that, not to flex or anything, but figures out her handle and is able to send the transaction to her. And no one has been able to do it before, and we figured out a very smart way to do it.
That is an amazing feature, and I wrote that as a piece of alpha here. But back
Like,
to sorry, yeah, go ahead.
It's just like, look at this Rodion. It's like he keeps asking me about my wallet address every time he makes a transfer. Like, please, steal your wallet address. Steal your wallet address.
Oh,
Like, yes,
huge problem. Like,
right?
you know, we are a business, we pay people too in stable coins, and I'm looking for a solution actually where I don't have to show my, you know, all my funds when I do that. So
Well, and
back
there are
to-
human errors involved there too. It's like we see this
Yeah.
this common phishing link where people impersonate your wallet with the first couple and last couple.
yeah,
We sometimes miss that with human eyes, but an agent will scan the whole thing and like you won't have those.
yeah, they'll know
like,
digits by digits, like
That's
you know,
exactly what I was thinking about. Because
deterministically.
here's like we talked with Stepan. I love Stepan. Shout out Stepan Sinkin from Squad. He is the like he's one of the people who I look up to a lot in crypto because Squad like on Solana, they're legends. They didn't launch the
GM, GICM.
GICM, GMCG. What's going on? What's going on?
Not much, bro. How you doing?
How's
How's your weekend?
Weekend was honestly lit, bro. Spent some time with the wife,
Nice.
some time with family, just hung out, watched the game, like actually lived a little bit of life on over the weekend. So yeah, loved it, bro. Loved it. Ave, is it stat quality projects and chill season? We'll go into that actually today during the macro. That's a really good question. I actually want Dom. I can't wait till Dom joins us because he posted something yesterday. I wanted to talk about that, but there's like a lot of stuff going on in the background, guys. I mean, the way I'm thinking about it is we're heading into the largest period of stimulus that we've ever seen in the world, which would mean great things for us on chain. But, you know, prior to that, I don't know if to call this a shakeout. You know, it's been crime season this whole cycle, so it wouldn't be a stretch to say this is whether you want to call it a bit of manipulation, a bit of, you know, of a bull trap, trying to shake, you know, crypto participants out. I'm not really sure what you want to call this, but I am still convinced that, you know, it is not over, and we'll go through that here in a second.
GMCG, what's up, boys?
The boy Dom
What's
is in the
up?
building. What up, man?
How we doing? Got another case, got pulled up here, wasn't really quite ready to go. So
No, you're
now,
good. You're
though.
good. You're good.
How we doing, guys?
We're good.
Chilling.
Yeah, good weekend. Honestly, didn't look at charts too much this weekend, so just stayed off
Maybe
it.
a good thing he didn't look
Yeah.
at charts. Okay, dude. I'm not sure if it's a restream thing, or I guess we're not a restream anymore, but I cannot see the comments. You guys had a comment pulled up from Ave earlier, it looked like. I can't see them on my end.
At all. You can't see the top right.
I
Do
can
you
see
pop
it,
up
but
the
there's nothing
comments?
in the comment section yet for me. It's all good. Not a big deal. Just
No worries.
mentioning.
We'll pull it on stream. Hey guys. Also, I think MetaDAO retweeted our stream, so shout out MetaDAO. The solo ICO, we're covering that at 2 p.m. with the team. But it looks like it's fully committed. I already saw in their X profile 3
Oh,
million.
dang, for real?
150% overbooked, I think. is actually what I saw.
Overbooked.
Nice.
Look, dude, now is actually, I think, the perfect time for a stablecoin protocol to raise with Bitcoin just nuking. Bitcoin officially is at 0% gains for the entire year, guys. So we've gone through all of 2025 and Bitcoin is up 0% officially for the entire year. So that only goes to show, I guess, what our on-chain bags are looking like. But great time for a stablecoin protocol to raise. I think they were doing like 22% APY or something. And so, like, dude, in this market, if you can squeeze that, I can see the appetite here.
So I got something I want to go through with you guys, but yeah, I think that I can't wait to have them on stream. I think that's a pretty nice protocol. And just to Dom's point, good environment for it too.
Yeah. So
But I
check
mean-
back at 2 p.m. EST, just to be clear for the solo, or the people out here for solo. So check back 2 p.m. EST.
Yeah, we got
Or-
Algon at 12:50, and then 15 minutes later we have Migrate.fun, which has been a pretty big one with everyone rotating off of Believe to Pump to wherever. Is that what time is Migrate.fun?
1:15, I believe.
Yep,
Yeah.
1:15, and then following that's going to be Solo, and so we might even get Profit on here too to yap it up with us and talk about this raise. I really don't think there's a better time for Solo or Solomon Labs, I should say, to raise. This is like literally it's terrible market environments, which makes it the perfect market environment for a stablecoin protocol. You guys want to maybe dive into their Twitter? I saw MetaDAO put out some tweets recently, just more in-depth breakdowns with Solomon Labs. You guys want to just kind of go through this and see what's up? We got a bit of time here before Algon comes on.
Yeah, let's do it.
Give me a sec, man. It's starting to get cold, so I got to put some lip chapstick on my lips, bro, because my shit's dry.
Nah, it is kind of starting to get a little chilly here. So
Out there, guys, stay moisturized.
dude, I can't see the comments either. I wonder if it's because like of the pre-show. I think you can see it because you did the pre-show. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, I don't know, honestly. But I'll keep an eye on it. I'll bring it all up, so I'll make sure you guys see it.
Bet. You can go through Solomon Labs first, and then we can start macro and work our way down.
Yeah,
You're on mute, by the way, Dom.
I've seen some really good posts recently from the Kasabi letter. They've put some really good content out just in regards to on-chain, what's going on in the crypto markets. They're one of my favorite sources to just read their threads on. So you guys should definitely be doing so. We can run through some of that as well because I had some cool ones, and I'll even send them in the chat. Okay,
I had
sweet.
a few as well. Yeah. Very like there are like I know a lot of us crypto guys don't really pay a lot of attention to macro, but like their stuff is actually pretty on point. It's pretty on point.
Look at this. This is what an ICO done right looks like. 2 million raised in under 24 hours, 100% organic, 550K plus impressions, 1,500 public participants with 0 paid chills, 0 paid followers, 0 backdoor deals, 0 private rounds on better terms. Solomon is built different. What can we get some insight into the numbers they were doing? I think we saw a 22% number floated around. I'm not sure if that was their team. Maybe like what's in their vaults at the moment. How much do they have? We covered this a bit, Josh, the other day.
We did, yeah. Yeah, let's see if we can pull it up. You're going to have to grab it off their website. I don't know if you want to pull up their docs and we can
all good. Yeah, let me
brief through it.
Let me grab that real quick. How is from the people in the comments here, how are you guys feeling? The market's been really difficult, right? No signs about that. This cycle's been different in the way that we've seen massive leverage that we haven't seen in previous cycles. I'm wondering how that's affecting macro. And I haven't fully thought through it myself yet, but we saw 10-10, we got a massive liquidation.
I got you.
You got some thoughts on that?
I got you. Yeah, once we're done with Solomon Labs, we can dive into it. But I had this exact question. I still got more research to do, but I think I have enough to bring to the table here.
Let's talk about that. We can pivot back to Solomon Labs. We got plenty of time here.
We got time.
Okay, cool. So let me share my screen. Bang, share screen. And let me go to my bookmarks for the show. So this is the first tweet I wanted to go through from, again, Kobisi letter. Literally give them a follow. Like, again, we don't pay a lot of attention to macro, but when it affects us, tweets like this really help put things into context. Current situation: the U.S. is preparing $2,000 stimulus checks. Japan is prepping $110 billion stimulus package. China, 1.4 trillion stimulus. QT is ending in December. The U.S. is issuing almost $2 trillion in treasuries per year. Canada restarting QE. Global money supply up only. Global rate cuts are 320 plus over the last 24 months. So obviously, like this tweet was in regards to inflation. But my point in bringing this tweet out is, don't we see the global QE that is like getting ready to take place? On top of that, when you consider the stress of the financial system, we have taken on as a country, not only in the US, but just countries around the world, even taking on way too much debt, way more debt than we can handle. And we're running our spending. Our spending is in the US, I can speak for, is just ridiculous. It's like 20 to or 23% of GDP, or no, 23% of GDP, I believe. But either way, we're spending so much that even stopping QT won't be enough. We saw Jerome Powell, he said that they will be expanding the balance sheet. So at some point, that means QT will end, yes, but QE will begin. And QE, like as we've seen before, like what happened in 2021, how prices just went absolutely ridiculous. That's because QE, that's because liquidity was being pumped into the system. And right now, we have seen prices only when QT has been in effect. QT has been in effect this whole time, yet Bitcoin still went from 15K to 120 plus, whatever the price was. I think it was 124, almost 125K. So I say all of that to say, we've been in an environment where liquidity has been taken out of the system. Now we're going into a phase of the market where liquidity will be coming into the system actively. And the Fed is about to turn on the money printers, not because they want to, but simply because they have to, because the alternative is going to mean basically self-destruction. If you follow my content, you know that where I stand is, countries around the world, they can posture, they can talk. However, they cannot afford war. They cannot afford a healthy financial system. They cannot afford to put rates down where it needs to be. So countries around the world will prioritize self-preservation over self-destruction. And anything leaning away from, like a healthy spending, that's going to mean self-destruction, right? When I say that, there's still going to be, due to politics and all these other things, there's still going to be a need for social programs. There's still going to be a need for defense, military, and all these other programs that the government's put on. But that means spending, and that money has to come from somewhere. And because we're not making enough, many countries around the world aren't making enough money to supplement all of that spending. It needs to be printed, right? And so we're about to see a lot of printing on a massive scale, and that kind of that starts with this one tweet here. But I think the only thing it leaves out is the fact that QT is ending in December, but QE will be beginning very, very soon. And I think that's something that Powell confirmed pretty much. I mean, they might like make it not look like QE, but he's pretty much confirmed that. But yeah, that's one of the first tweets. So I say all of that to say, we've been in an environment where we haven't really gotten a chance to see alts perform, because wouldn't you know, ever since 2022, QT has been in effect. And I'm going to show you this chart here. For you guys who have followed my content for a long time, you've seen this chart every so often. And I'll show you the monthly view where you've seen this before as well. But QT was started in 2022. Bang. And it hasn't ended. It hasn't ended. So ever since QT started, we've seen this down only price action here on others BTC, meaning alts aren't outperforming Bitcoin. They've been going down. Now we've seen areas of outperformance in the market, but we haven't seen a massive alt season. And so that's for many reasons. But one of them being, QT. And there are some other reasons that we haven't seen a full-blown alt season. And actually it's this is the reason here. This is another reason we haven't seen QT. I mean, not QT, I'm sorry, alt season. Because number one, US sports betting is up 50%. Zero DTE SPX options are 40% of the volume in 2023. And they're now up to a little less than 60% in 2025. Online casino revenue is growing 30% annually. And that's because just overall behaviors with instant gratification, a tendency to gamble, that has continued to proliferate in the behavior of society. And so we see that reflected in these numbers here. But, you know, alt season has typically been the way to gamble, right? We saw that in 2021. It's been the way to come in and make a ton of money in a short period of time. But now there are more options to do that. Soon, you know, alts will reclaim that number one spot to be the best place to speculate and to gain money in a short period of time. But for now, we have to wait on QT to end and for money to be printed. And when you look at this monthly view, if you follow my content, you've also seen this this chart before. Again, we've seen areas of outperformance, and we've seen that, but we're still in a 3-year downtrend, as you can see in this chart. But as we get to the end of QT, as we know that the global monetary overlords, if you will, in the central banks globally, they're also easing and printing money. And then the Fed is also going to be doing that at some point. And around the same time, it just so happens that this others BTC chart is on the verge of a breakout. As you can see, let me just hit this line for you guys so you can actually see it a little bit better. As you can see that yellow
man, you were painting this chart up, huh?
Dude, I've been using this chart a very, very long time. Unless we lose this downtrend here, this 8-year trend, unless we lose this, we wicked below it on 1010, but we quickly reclaimed it. And unless we lose it, I'm still bullish that we'll have this sort of period. And this box is drawn out honestly to September 2026, but I think I'm gonna hit it to July of next year. But I think there's going to be this area of outperformance where we break out of this chart and we start going aggressively higher, especially when we start QE.
Do you ever consider that I mean, we've talked about this extensively in the show. We don't really believe in this 4-year cycle anymore. Do you think that there's a chance, or have you ever thought about the possibility of, instead of this just parabolic run going to new all-time highs, continuing this trend, maybe we just get sideways for a while. Maybe we pump a little bit up, whatever others kind of sit in range, and maybe we just trend sideways for a while. Do you think it has to be this, continuation of the 4-year cycle where we get these blow off top and others outperform and we set new all-time highs in terms of market cap every 4 years? Or have you thought about a possibility where we don't just go straight up?
Yeah, I have thought about it, but here's the thing. When you look at the behavior of just markets, but retail, FOMO is real. FOMO is a very, very real thing. So as soon as people start to hear that, hey, I just remember the Dogecoin stories from last year. I made $1 million on Dogecoin, or remember the NFT cycle from last year, when when those stories start to circulate, that
on TikTok.
And that's the thing. Now we have TikTok,
Wall Street bets type of.
Yeah. And so I feel like so far during this 3-year downtrend, although alts have been lackluster, look at the infrastructure that has been built around in crypto. I mean, you see now we have things like trading terminals, we have things like prediction markets, we have streams like ours that help people to cut through the noise. There's
regulated banks offering crypto product.
It's a much different environment. And so because the market looks drastically different than before, it makes me think, like, when retail looks at this, will they think, oh man, this is just the same as the last time. It's just, I'm just going to lose money. Or will they say, dang, you know, JP Morgan is actually starting to offer crypto services. Wow, maybe this thing has changed. Or maybe they see like models like Soar and like, they're like, oh, wow, this is like an equity thing. Oh man, it's like crypto / stocks. Oh, wow. Like, and the FOMO kicks in, the stories of me making money kick in. And that just you know, encourages people to come into the space in droves. So I don't think that it has to. I think it's just a byproduct of how our space operates. We, you know, we chop sideways, we downtrend for a long time, but when things change and stories start to actually come out, you know, I think it attracts a lot of folks. And again, going back to this, shout out to Night Owl, going back to this article. You know, just the habits around people, they're inherently, he says here, inherently emotional. They're conditioned to crave anticipation of a reward, engaging in impulsive behavior. Like, this is like the nature of the way society has kind of evolved over time with things like TikTok and gambling and short-term attention spans. It just lends itself to instant gratification, gambling, and, to be honest, risk taking. And so that's what will pump our markets, man.
Studying human behavior and human psychology is ironically one of the most important things you can do as a trader if you really want to have an edge over everybody else, right? This is trading is a game where it's one person has to lose for one person to win, and if you want to get that edge, you have to understand what the next person is going to be thinking and doing. And I think that now points that out pretty well here at the bottom half.
Yep. So he says, my belief is that this trend has primed the global mass population for gambling behaviors in a way we have never seen before in human history. People are emotionally desensitized, conditioned to crave a reward, engaging in impulsive behavior. All of this is occurring alongside a period of high costs and rising difficulty in social mobility. So what happens when, what happens when people actually do receive, $2,000 stimmy checks? What happens when people, actually get the freedom to, to spend and to speculate as much as they want? And so I think, again, crypto just lends itself to those types of behaviors, and it attracts those types of people. And that's why this chart is so important to me. And it's kind of like helped me to stay bullish. And to be honest, the reason why I'm so bullish is because I actually didn't update this chart, but this right here, actually, let me do this. This little slither right here of uptrend, that was Believe in ICM back in earlier this year. You know what I'm saying?
That kind of puts it in perspective, huh?
So we keep on having these like short little waves of outperformance, and it's ETH utility, it's AI agents, it's ICM, and these narratives will come back and rear their head.
Yeah, even RWAs, like I was listening to Mike Novogratz was talking this morning about RWAs having tens of billions of dollars of liquidity on chain in the next 18 months. And that's just like kind of blue ocean liquidity that's coming in. And he's close to the institutions. Like, he's the one talking to Goldman Sachs about this, not the trenchers. And he's the one saying, hey, there's tens of billions of liquidity coming in for things like on-chain RWAs.
Can we talk about that a little bit? Because and I think this is where I can pull up Dom's chart, not chart, but tweet from yesterday.
This is a good segment, Chill. By the way, I'm going to clip this as a piece we talk about, because I think people need to hear what you've laid out with this here.
Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you.
Liquidity is important.
That also, like, going back to the first thing we covered on this show, actually back in April, was basically that chart. So that's kind of like something we've talked about for some time. But I love this. It's good framing.
Yeah, if you guys were here back like in early summer, like May, we were talking about this chart heavily, and it actually looked a lot better then. But I think now it's at a really good spot. And the other thing that I wanted to point out on this chart is every time we kind of touch this trend line is when a powerful move happens. And, we actually we just reconnected with this trend line like a bunch actually here recently. So again, just
and to add fuel to the fire on that too, we just saw Bitcoin fear and greed index at 10%, right? 10% is like the lowest we've seen in a very long time.
Man, actually, yeah, I didn't even see that. Like, honestly, I haven't paid attention to the
fear and greed index.
Yeah.
If you actually paint a chart with the fear and greed index, it's really incredible how often extreme fear correlates with bottoms being in a bull market. I should add or preface. But well, I mean, what do you think? We're going to talk about Solomon Labs. It's going to be a big crux of this conversation today. You have a tweet pulled up from Kathy Woods, who's talking about stablecoins. What do you think stablecoins do for that chart right there? Right, when you look at the others chart, what does an influx in stablecoins do for others? Right, for altcoins. We also see Solana just partnered with Cash App to integrate USDC payments as well. Right, they're going to be rolling that out, I think, sometime next year. So, like, what kind of impact do stablecoins have on altcoins and others?
So, kind of going back to your tweet yesterday, like, it depends on the type of adoption, that that takes place with stablecoins. If stablecoins just becomes rails, it's just a mechanism of transferring value from one place to the next. So it doesn't mean that is like coming on chain. Josh, remember our talk with Vib and his definition of ICM. It wasn't that like, oh man, like we're tokenizing startups. It's more so, hey, we're just bringing these stocks on chain, and then you're and giving like Web3 participants an ability to engage with stocks.
Can we play that Kathy Wood video? I thought that was a great clip actually.
You know what's interesting about stablecoins too is stablecoins are only stablecoins until you have a better type of money, right? If Bitcoin, because stablecoins are still pegged to the US dollar, right? They're not necessarily stable. Sometimes there's a basket of things that they're pegged to, but stablecoins are only as stable as the underlying assets, right? So if Bitcoin does become more critical as a payment rails, does it fully replace stablecoins at some point? Like, that's just a question you have to ask yourself. I'll let this video play though if you guys want.
Yeah, good intro to this video and intro to this discussion. Let's listen to Kathy.
Stablecoins are usurping part of the role that we thought Bitcoin would play. So our bullish forecast out there is 1.5 million by 2030. Given what's happening to stablecoins, which are serving emerging markets in a way that we thought Bitcoin would, I think we could take maybe $300,000 off of that bullish case just for stablecoins. So watch that space. Stablecoins are scaling here, I think, much faster than anyone would have expected.
So that's the video, and maybe Dom, you can run through your tweet and kind of your thoughts.
Yeah. So I guess my tweet thesis here was the emergence of stablecoins, and Kathy Woods nails it on the head. By the way, ARK Investments has been so good at these forward-looking investments. She's done an incredible job as CEO there, and like, I'm very impressed with ARK Investments and what they've done. One of the better indexes, maybe to look into. That being said, she says acceleration of stablecoin adoption actually detracts from the bull case of Bitcoin. And I can see both angles, right? I can see that, hey, if stablecoins go crazy and everyone starts using them, well, there's less of a need for Bitcoin adoption. But I actually would argue that Bitcoin is not even considered to be used as a payment rail at this point. Maybe that was one thing that we thought of back in the day. But at this point, it's too slow. It's too clunky. There's a bunch of reasons, right? It's much more a store of value these days rather than a payment rail. So I actually don't think stablecoins being used as payments negatively affects Bitcoin adoption, because it was never going to be adopted for that payment rail. Rather, I think it actually increases the upside. Now, I don't know if I would put the 1.5 million number on it, but I don't think it actually detracts from the downside of Bitcoin. I think it says, hey, we're bringing money on chain now. The more money on chain, the more money goes into crypto native assets. Of course, leading that would be Bitcoin, the safe haven, or I guess the store of value token in all of crypto. So that's kind of my thoughts there. I wrote it down here. You can read those further thoughts, but that's the general idea.
Yeah, it seems like it almost is more of an accelerant seeing the rise of stable coins, because it creates so many other markets that didn't exist before: lending, money markets, interest rate markets, all sorts of things can be created from stablecoin adoption. So, yeah.
So I
guess-
think Kathy was actually
Yeah.
spot on with the acceleration of stablecoins. I just don't disagree with the fact that it detracts from the Bitcoin bull thesis was my point here, to be clear.
Got you. And I guess I kind of misunderstood coming to think about it. But I agree with I agree with the Bitcoin side of that. The part that I didn't really agree with was more capital on chain. I was like, yeah, but yeah, I agree with you. I think Bitcoin is more store of value than anything. Stablecoins, they still track inflation. So Bitcoin is still going to be, it's still going to have its moat there, if you will. But if we're just, I don't know, passing money on chain, it doesn't mean that they're going to automatically ape our ICM tokens, for example. My thing is what kind of adoption that would lead to value accruing on chain? Okay, Cash App is now adopting stable coins. How is that going to bring people on chain? That's the
I think it just generally is normalizing the use of crypto, right? And once you can normalize the use of crypto, that's when you get that mass adoption. Without stable coins, I say it here. I say stablecoin adoption could very well be the largest single onboarding event for crypto. And I think truly that's the first step in getting the masses on chain. If everyone has a stablecoin account in their bank, it just opens up the mind to the idea of crypto being a sustainable and realistic future for people to trade and barter in. I think stablecoins is the easiest way to really make it click for people. Outside of that, I can't really see an onboarding event that gets people on crypto or gets people accustomed to crypto outside of stablecoins. So I guess that's why I think it's so important that we do have the stablecoin acceleration. And if you start seeing all these banks create their own stablecoins and all these institutions create their own stablecoins, I do think it's a great way to get people on chain. And that's just step one, right? I don't think that necessarily directly leads in the short term to people coming on chain and aping our ICM shitcoins, right? I think it just gets people accustomed to using on-chain rails, which is very important in that next step, which is going into private equity and buying private companies on chain and investing in these lower cap tokens.
It's just, you got to also think there's a 2017 interview with Darius Sid of QCP Capital where he talks about the initial rise of stablecoins, and everyone thought the Tether numbers were BS. But Darius, who is in Asia, was like, no, actually, you walk into a convenience store in Asia, you can actually get dollars in USDT onto your phone. And that was the Eastern, Asia perspective of, yes, this is real adoption. These aren't BS numbers. I've also heard in India, it's very similar, is there's a lot of demand for stablecoins because of just the capital controls in the country. So I think it's a global phenomenon. We think about it as Cash App doing stablecoins. Why do people need stablecoins? But in parts of the world, again, this is the banking rails that they have. But yeah, I like the Kathy Wood segment. I found it interesting that it knocked her BTC target down. I agree with you, Dom. So
I wonder if we get to a point where stablecoin adoption becomes so big that countries' native currency just loses all value and people just stop using it, right? If they can start bartering in USDC or USDT or the United States dollar, essentially, why would they want to barter in their native currency? If everyone accepts it everywhere.
Isn't that the playbook?
Yeah, that's why the US is pushing stables so much is because they can, number one, export inflation to not just US citizens, but the entire world can carry that burden. And then number two, it helps to reinforce the dominance of the dollar. And so the US dollar basically survives another, 10 or 20 years or how much ever.
I think this is a fascinating conversation leading up to Solo, because it also begs the question then, now I know they have really good APY, but why another stablecoin over USDC or USDT, or the ones that are going to be clearly dominant, trusted, secure, or more secure, I guess. There was a lot of questioning of USDT's, if they actually had the backing that they claim they had. USDC is backed by Coinbase. I believe USDC is FDIC insured as well. Is that correct?
I'm not sure.
It's not. No.
I don't think so, but they're audited, and it's 75% in UST short short duration UST or US Treasuries. But why don't you have some of these other tweets here? Do we want to rip through those? Because we have 9 minutes before Algon, and I want to make sure.
Let's definitely. So I'm looking through them. I got the Solomon origin story. Let's get to Solo later. Maybe let's do the Uniswap flipping on the fee switch. I think that's really interesting. Yeah, we can skip the weekly Sol wrap up as well. Yeah, guys. But so in recent news, we saw, I'm sure a lot of you heard about this, but Uniswap flipped on the fee switch, right? So now, and Chill went over this tweet more specifically, but now Uniswap is actually buying back their token with Uniswap fees. And this is a post from DeFi who says, Meteor casually flipped Uniswap and fees generated over the last 24 hours. Meta is trading 20x away from Uni, also doing 2x more fees than Jupiter while trading 4.5 away, 85% of pump fees while trading 4.5x away, 6.3x more fees than Radium while trading 75% cheaper. There are tons of rumors that they will use fees to do buybacks. Now, again, the clear difference here right now with Meteor and these other platforms is there's no buybacks, right? Meteor has no buybacks, and that's fine. We know Soju's angle has been use this money to make the company much stronger and then flip on buybacks when it makes sense, which I don't even argue with that. But what's more interesting about this whole situation, I think, is Uniswap flipping on fees, right? We have Hyperliquid, we have Uniswap flipping on fees, a few more large caps as you see here, right? Pump, Radium as well, who use fees. I'm not sure if Jupe uses fees or not. I can't quite recall, but it's a shift that's happening on chain. I think we're seeing the appetite really clearly in MetaDAO here for that exact reason, having that ownership in these tokens. And I think it's so fascinating that 2 now of the top 25 tokens, Uniswap and Hyperliquid, are both using large amount of fees to go back into the token. I think it sets a precedent for a lot of these other large caps that have no intrinsic value to do something with that, right? You see a lot of L1s up there. You see some stable coins up there in the top, top 25. But outside of L1s, L2s, and stable coins, every other protocol that's up in the top 100 or below, it doesn't even matter, really should be thinking about driving some value back to the native token. And so Uniswap's a good example of that.
And I think that just kind of leads perfectly into that tweet about token utility. Look, I think we need to start as an entire industry, as traders, start to think differently about these tokens. Tokens like MET, larger cap, like revenue heavy. Tokens like MET, like Pump, like Hyperliquid. Buybacks makes a ton of sense for these tokens, right? They have a ton of revenue to work with. Now that might not be the play for every single token. We've seen that projects have tried to kind of justify the existence of a token by just kind of, hey, we'll do buybacks. But like essentially utility projects are startups. What startup is really giving their money, all of their revenue, to buybacks? It doesn't really make the most sense for something like them. But that's what they do to justify their existence, right? And even like token gated access, token being used for payments. We've seen all of these types of utilities popping up, but I feel like some of these utility features are dying slowly. Here's why. So like I mentioned, utility projects are essentially startups. They can be acquired. We see that happen with Padre. We saw that happen with KOL Scan a few months ago. So we have to start thinking different about the upside of these tokens. More often than not, tokens become a distraction as founders focus more on price action than the core business. We've seen that. You've seen that. We've interviewed some projects on this show, and they've also kind of expressed that struggle to stay focused on the business versus the token's price action. Utility only exists to justify the existence of a token. Hold this to get that, which only gets you so far. We're entering an age where this isn't necessary. Tokens that give holders upside in the company, product, or service is the way. This gives founders room to focus on the underlying tech that leverages crypto blockchain rather than price. The upside isn't just price, it's in growth, acquisitions, or mergers that could happen if the underlying technology is really disruptive. This isn't ETH utility season in 2023. Think bigger. So my whole point with this tweet was we need to start thinking differently about token utility. you know, and I think like watching someone like Soar and how they approach tokenomics, watching those like MetaDAO and how they approach tokenomics with ownership, just kind of like prioritizing token holders and giving them, you know, real exposure to the business. I think that is the new utility that we should focus on, not just like token gated access just creates more friction, right? For a lot of these utility projects. Like the user experience goes down the drain when you start to try to incorporate the token unnecessarily into your product. I would much rather see stable coins be used in a lot of these products rather than their token, right? Because it again just creates so much friction. So yeah, I think with things like buybacks, I think I think Meteora is actually showing us the way it should be done. It's like, hey, look, this isn't just like automatic buybacks just out the gate when it doesn't make sense. It really should be, let's focus on the business. And if we are going to do something like buybacks, let's turn that on at a time where it makes the most sense for us. Instead of just like doing it straight out the gate, like we see a lot of projects do. So I think token utility is pretty important. But we need to think differently with what that utility is.
Cool. We got Algon coming on pretty soon here. We got a couple options. We can run through some solo tweets now, or we can do that a little closer to the actual Solomon DAO raise. Your call. Yeah,
let's do it closer to the solo segment, and let's maybe open up with some algo stuff as we like transition.
Sure. You guys want to jump to Bitcoin for a second real quick because the chart is tumbling. I remember we were mentioning 90K.
So I drew out this green box because of Dom. I remember we were talking about this a few weeks ago, and you were like, man, that's a huge zone. That's where I'd be looking. So I drew this box out, and yeah, tumbling down. We used to cover this. We used to cover this line, this purple line, and now we've kind of broken below it. But why am I still bullish? We talked about those reasons at the beginning part of the stream with, you know, QE and all that good stuff. But yeah, I'm actually still pretty bullish here. As long as we don't start losing a whole bunch of key levels, I'm actually still bullish.
Yeah, my line in the sand here is like see that 1 week bullish OB is kind of where I'm looking. Anything under that, you lose order flow, right? You lose that bullish order flow, and that's kind of an invalidation. It's a lot lower to go in terms of where we're at right now, but I would get pretty worried if we do lose that level.
Yeah, same here. Bitcoin is, again, that's why I just took time, spent time with the family this weekend, spent time with the homies, actually lived life a little bit, because staring at these charts, you're not doing yourself any favors.
Not at all.
I'll go. Let me see here. Let me pull up.
For those that don't know, guys, we did a full interview with Algon. We're going to have them on today for more of an update, just kind of see what they've been up to, what they've been working on. Shorter segment, nothing too crazy. But if you want to catch that full interview, it's on YouTube, as well as somewhere on Twitter, but your best luck's going to be on YouTube. And Chill, do you want to pull up that chart before we jump into getting winch up here?
Yep. Here is the algo chart. Oh wow, I had this already charted out a little bit. But yeah, coming to a nice key area here on the Algon, the ALG chart.
It's a good day to have Algon on as well, because this is one of the few protocols like Solomon Labs, a stablecoin, that actually yields trades the FX market, right? Foreign exchange. So this has gains completely uncorrelated with crypto. If you're betting on the algorithm, it has nothing to do with crypto. So that's like an interesting thing here. It's actually kind of a hedge bet against the crypto market if you want to look at it that way. So good day to have them on.
Yeah, absolutely. And in that way, like, I really don't think that, you know, on chain will ever die, in the sense that there'll always be an opportunity somewhere. And now with trading terminals, projects like Algon, kind of supposing to be decorrelated with the market and doing something outside of crypto. I think that's really powerful. But looks like we got the team on here. Winch, how you doing? Welcome onto the stream. Appreciate you
Yeah.
joining up.
Hi guys. You hear me well?
Sound
sir.
good?
Yeah. Nice. Nice. Hi. Hi everyone.
Hey, welcome back on the show. It's been a little while since we talked to you last, but I think you've had some good updates come out. You've been pushing some cool things. Like we were saying before you came on, perfect time to get you because obviously you have a crypto token, but your product itself is pretty much uncorrelated with the crypto markets. So we're glad to get you on today.
Yeah. Thank you guys. I last time I was here, like it was like 2 months ago, something like that. We did a lot of things and a lot of things to do also. So for now, yeah, we relaunch our Bybit copy trading vault, and we already have 320,000 total assets under management for today. We are still printing, like if you can look at the BTC chart, so every crypto goes down, but we are up. So we and every copy trader is up as well. Um, yeah, this is what we did. We also in a final stage of bring our new website. My devs a little bit ragged me last week. They told me that website will be live on Thursday, but I'm still waiting. So they need a lot of things to fix and deploy a couple of stuff on the website. But I hope this week we will be live, and we will start also different campaigns to bring more users. I mean, with the web traffic, any other kind of ads. Uh, by the way, what you see on the performance right now, so when we launch it, we put a small lot size to collect more market data. So I need to check if we increased it already or we will do it today. And we will we'll print more. So, but basically, what we did in the past, it was between 12 to 15% per a month. I can let me find the old link for
And you can pull up the charts too if you want to show us something specifically.
I don't know how to do it because I'm from the phone.
Oh, you're on your phone? Yeah, it's not gonna work.
Yeah,
It's all
yeah.
good. You can send us links though, and we can pull it up.
Yeah, sure. I'll send in the chat.
And for those that are unaware, when you say smaller lot size, you basically just mean your sizing's been smaller as you test out some new strategies, basically, correct?
Yeah, no, we are relaunch it because we faced some issues with Bybit where users were small deposit, they can't reach same value size, proportional value size for our value. So, and when we get around like 12-15% per month, they did around 5 or something like that. So we relaunch it. We also add some more automations to the algorithm. And our minimal size right now is around $3,000 maybe. Yeah. But in the December, I'm testing right now another copy trading vault with a small size. So I want to, like in a couple weeks, we'll introduce one more vault, and every user can deposit small size. So it will be for users who are with I don't know $100 to $10K, so they can join. Where is our chat? Just a second.
There's a private chat down there.
Yeah.
And real quick,
I sent
maybe
it-
Winch, before we even get too far ahead of ourselves here, we got 1,200 people that have tuned into this. So maybe just give an elevator pitch on what Algo is or Algon is before we just really jump into it. Short and sweet.
Sure. So, what is it, Algon Effects? So, we are a trading algorithm where operates on Forex. In less than 3 years, we did for today our first deposit, our first account sits around $240,000, and we started with 10K. So it's basically it's 24x in less than 3 years. Yeah, and this is what we're doing, like, so it's trading algorithm, and we are printing for our copy traders. We're also working on chain walls, because we have a lot of users like our holders or any different clients who are from UK or US, and they don't have access to it, but they want to deposit, they want to use our product. So we are now developing on-chain wallets. We are testing right now our algorithm on Lighter, on Ostium, and on Avantis. But I hope in the future, Trade XYZ or Hyperliquid will add Forex, and we'll just open the vault on the Hyperliquid.
Sweet. Are you guys adjusting your strategy as you go, or has this been the same strategy you used for the last 3 years that garnered your personal account 25x gains?
Yeah, so it's a little bit it's the same algorithm. We did some changes. We added more automation, like auto stuff. For example, right now, if our deposit will grow, we don't need to scale a lot or change risk. It will be fully automated. So we're doing some changes, but the core algorithm is still the same, because it's working and working very good. So we don't need to change it. If we will see something different, of course we will change.
Cool. In other news, you guys announced a migration to Blank, which happens to fit the same lettering as Pump.fun. Have you guys thought about like a MetaDAO raise, or obviously you're migrating here? Tell us about these migration thoughts. You're leaving Believe, which is where you guys launched for, I would say, obvious reasons at this point. Maybe walk us through that.
Yeah, okay, we will migrate. I can share where, because we are talking with the Pump team, with Meteora team. I have a call with Soar too. We talk with MetaDAO, same. But for example, we can't migrate to MetaDAO because we need to relaunch it. I don't want to fuck up our holders who hold our tokens. So because or if we will have two tokens, it's like it's too
I
much
can't
to
do that.
do. I mean, uh, yeah, we're gonna migrate from Belief because I'm not aligned with their vision and what what they are doing. So I don't like it, and I still talking with our launchpad. If some of them they can provide any value to us, so we will migrate to them. If all the launch pads will be the same, we are just migrate to Meteora, like Clad did, kind of, and will be independent without any launchpad. Yeah.
Okay, so it's still up in the air. You guys are trying to figure out the best move.
Yeah, we know that we will migrate in the end of the month, because yeah, I'm talking with Belief team and still don't get like authority wallet, etc. So they are sending me one message per 5 days. So but I hope we will make it in this month and we will migrate. So it's not pretty complex to migrate. So
Okay, sweet. In other news, you're talking about Bybit. You guys just relaunched your Bybit vault. What happened the first time you launched it? Originally, you were saying you had to relaunch it because some users were not depositing enough to match your trade sizes, or help me understand that.
yeah, right. Because our trade size, because Walt on the Bybit is our treasurer, right? And our size is a little bit bigger for small guys. For example, who deposited like $100 or 1,000, and Bybit should open trades proportionally to user's deposit. But if user has small amount of funds, so just there's not enough like leverage or liquidity to open same trade like proportional value, and they're just earning dust, right? So this one thing why we relaunch it, and next thing we like improved our algorithm. So and we just moved it to another page. So yeah, I also send you a link in our Telegram chat. This was old vault. The metrics are still there, I think. Yes.
Okay, I'm pulling that up now. Here
Yeah,
you
you
go.
can open like 90 days stats maybe.
Yep, there
Yeah.
it is. Zoom in there. Sweet. Yeah, so your 90-day stats, I mean, pretty much up only here. looking good. You want to speak on those or?
Yeah, this actually what what our performance looks like, and our new vault is too young to bring same stats, but I hope in 1 month we will do same performance as here.
So over here on the new vault, you guys have an 89% win rate, which is incredible. On the old vault, you have a 72.72%. Do you expect the new vault to kind of even out a bit after you guys start deploying full size and
I
more
think
trades?
like we had same win rate, like very big, around 90% when we launched it, but in the with time you still have some losses or something like that. So our win rate in 3 years was around 72%. If I'm not, if yeah, like in the oldest one we have around 72 or a 69, something like that. But still, we are like you can also check the trades. So if you will scroll up, I don't see the no, yeah, I see trade. So you see, so we are opening like for example a grid of trades, so a couple of long positions, and we for algon effects close it. For example, we open it grid with the 6 positions. It will close 2 positions in a big profit and 4 in loss, but total P&L will be bigger than loss. So this is the strategy basically.
For example, here you can see it, right? So you got a bunch of Euro USD longs, or I guess you only trade EU, right? So you can
Yeah.
see a bunch of longs here around the same time. You take 2 smaller losses, you profit $1,300 here, and then you maybe take another loss here. So a couple small losses, but your larger one outweighs the remainder.
Yeah, this is what we like. This is our strategy. So basically, we of course we are closing some positions with loss, but our overall P&L will be in profit. So every trade in profit because thanks for a DCA and great feature that we implemented.
Can you talk a bit about the importance of opening up these vaults and creating multiple vaults? You were a top ranked vault on Bybit, if I remember that correctly, correct?
Right. We was top 3 in highest profits, followers profit. It was top 3. I think in 1-2 months we will be on the same spot with our new vault because already after we launch we already have like 320,000 assets under management in total. So it's the same amount that we had in our old wallet. Yeah. So I think we will catch the same top 3 or top 2, I guess. I hope.
So interestingly enough, you have 320K AUM right now, and your fully diluted value is 367K. How do you drive value back to the token? Because your assets under management almost directly correlate with your current market cap, and there should obviously be some premium on that if value is driving back to the token. Can you maybe explain that function for everyone listening?
Sure. So yeah, I'll start with utility of LG. First, like when we launched LG as an ICM for fundraising, and we collected fees and we did our treasury, right? But for now, what we are doing is first, we are still doing buybacks. We stopped it for 1 month because we want to migrate, and we will continue to do buybacks from our profits. Second, when we will launch on chain wallets, we want to introduce token gated wallets. So wallets with different risks and with different APY. Yeah, this is what we want to bring more utility for our token. So it will be all as right now buybacks, token gated wallets, and we will still keep the free wallets for everyone. And also we are gonna launch after migration. We're gonna launch our rewards because when we're doing buybacks, we are keeping 50% of buybacks in our treasury, and other 50% goes to reward pool for our holders. So we are basically redistributing value from our algorithm for our holders. But it's not live yet because after migration we will launch it together.
So that'll be like a staking feature. So half, so help me understand this. Half of the money you buy back will go into a vault. The other half will go into distribution for holders.
Yeah, so we are, for example, we did like you can see here, for example, master PNL, we did $50,000, right? Half of it, we are buying back our token. It's
Okay.
splitting it 50-50. So 50 goes to our treasury, token treasury, and 50 goes to holder rewards.
Got you. Got you. We're coming in. We got like 5 more minutes for you here. Maybe Winch, we'll give you some time to just run through all the updates, everything you want to cover, what's new. This wasn't really meant to be a ALG interview. After all, it's more of an update segment. So maybe give us some updates, things you wanted to come on here and touch on, everything important, the future, etc.
So I'm still I can share something. So right now I have like a lot of calls with not the VCs, but more with private investors. I have like around 3 guys who I closed last week, and they will deposit like a pretty good size into our wallets. I have a revenue share from it, and I will put it back into our treasury. So it's basically what I'm doing now. I'm spreading word about what we are building and doing with my network, and trying to bring more private clients. And some of them I'm trying to bring them into copy trading wall, but some of them want to, own their server, hold everything with them, like etc. etc. So I'm closing it, but still earning some fees, and I'll giving it back for our treasury.
So what's your
Can I
big
ask?
goal right now, Winch? Go ahead, Josh.
I wanted to actually just follow on from that. What kind of size do you think you
I'm
can
not here,
get
George.
from?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
You can't
interesting.
hear him, Winch?
No, I don't hear him.
Maybe Dom, just ask Winch about the size that they can get from private clients. You think, like, is it $10 million, $1 million, 100K, etc.?
So Winch, he's asking, he said, what kind of size does it look like to get from private clients? I'm sure that kind of fluctuates based on who you're talking about. But what kind of size can you get from private clients
Into the strategy.
and get that into your strategy?
So one of who I closed, he deposited 100,000 USD, and like biggest private client that I have, he has deposited 1.3 million euro. So this is like the biggest one, and I'm like running his algorithm, like I'm running his servers, like giving him Algon for 1.5 years, I think, yeah, something like that. So this pretty so I'm working with private clients only with I don't know, we can start from 20K to I don't know, to 10 million, I think, yeah, because there is enough volume on forex and liquidity to also to handle the deposit with 10 million.
That's the nice thing about the FX markets. You can facilitate basically any size of money going in and out because it's not like these illiquid crypto markets. So what's the goal here? Is the goal right now for you, Winch, just to grow this AUM as much as possible? Obviously, more AUM equals more profits back into the company, which equals more buybacks, more holder distributions. Like, what is your current goal today?
So our current goal, so it was like 100% right, grow our AUM, because we will earn more and we will make more buybacks and more rewards for holders. Also, we'll start a good marketing after we'll grow our AUM. And next thing, what we really do and what we really need to do is on-chain wallets, because this will bring us a lot of attention and a lot of new holders, new deposits. So on-chain wallets will be pretty crazy tech. We are hard working on it.
And so all these deposits you get from Bybit, maybe other platforms, basically people can deposit whatever amount of money they want, and you get some sort of kickback, referral fee, whatever you want, based on the earnings they make that are going to go directly into buybacks.
Yeah, right. So, for example, on the Bybit, we are getting our share is 15% from the profits. So it's basically around I don't know, 6 to 8,000 each month with current AUM. Yeah. So and basically, what yeah, we will earn from the fees a lot, and we just want to exposure it, like make more wallets, like on-chain wallets. We also tomorrow I will gonna start testing the new type of algorithms for a stock market. Yeah, we just want to grow our tools, like bring more algorithms, bring more wallets. I hope one day we will make something for BTC or Ethereum, like any kind of algorithm, but it's pretty hard with this volatility.
Have you guys started testing out any strategies for that yet? Just on the back end?
We tested it back like 2 years ago. We tested with Bitcoin, but it was awful. Yeah, it was like one month. It was like plus 50%. Next month minus 30. It was like roller coaster, but market changed a little bit, so we still want to improve and test again. Maybe we'll see something that we didn't saw in the past, and just gonna
Closing
make
thoughts, why has the FX market been so much more predictable for long-term gains, right? You've been doing this for almost 4 years now. Why has the FX market worked so much better than something like crypto or indexes? Or you specifically trade Euro USD on the FX
Right.
market. Why has that been the winner?
You can you open the chart Euro USD? You will
Yeah,
see it.
absolutely. I'll pull it up
So
right now.
it's always in a range. It's very heavy assets, so there is no manipulation or something with this market. Euro USD pair itself around $6 trillion dollars in volume every day, I guess, right? If I'm
Yeah, I mean, what the FX market does at least 3 trillion a day in terms of volume. I'm not sure exactly what EU does, but yeah, trillions of dollars.
What we did, our total volume was 100, no, not 100, 150 million. We did it in 3 months.
Dom, I have a question for Winch. If you can ask him.
Question coming in from Josh here, Winch, in a sec.
Just ask him about, like, we see like Solomon coming on later is doing a strategy to earn yield for stablecoins. Do they see similar protocols maybe working with them to generate yield for their protocols?
So we have Solomon Labs coming on here shortly after you. They're working with a bunch of protocols to generate yield for stablecoins. I think Josh's question is, do you guys see yourself working with similar protocols to generate yield? I'm not sure if I got that question right, Josh. Yeah.
To basically be a source of yield for their.
We can. So
protocol.
we also want to introduce in future DeFi strategies as well. So yeah, in the long future, maybe in 1 year, we will. Yeah, that's one of our plans to introduce more DeFi strategies as well. Not only like algorithmic trading, also DeFi yield and etc. etc. So yeah, I think yes. Not
Okay.
not now, because now we are doing a little bit different stuff, but in the future for sure.
So overall, just yield generation platform. Love it. Closing thoughts. Anything you want to cover? We gotta jump here, but it was nice having you on again, Winch.
Yeah, thank you guys. Have a good one.
All right, brother. Peace.
Thank you for reminding. I hope we're gonna make it, and we'll print for all our copy traders and holders.
You're gonna make it. The most bullish thing about ALG and why I loved you guys from the jump when you came on the first time was you had that 3-year track record, the 4-year track record trading Euro USD, nothing else, and doing it consistently for so long, verifiable. And I think that's the biggest unlock, especially in a volatile, uncertain market like crypto. So I appreciate you coming on again, Winch, and talk again soon.
Yeah, thank you guys. Talk again soon.
Sweet.
Nice update.
Yeah, good update.
Guys, I'm about to bounce to the bathroom real quick. I'll be back in a couple.
I can go through the MetaDAO thesis for.
Yeah, we have Migrate on first, Jake from Migrate, and then we can maybe do MetaDAO just like a few 10 minutes before, 5 minutes before they hop on at 2 p.m.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
You want to just start with Jake? I think Jake's
Yeah,
ready
yeah,
to go.
yeah. Absolutely.
Let's
Yeah, let's go ahead and
with
start.
Jake. My guy, Jake, how's it going?
What's good, gents? How is it going? It's funny. I was actually watching your guys' show earlier, and Radar is one of the projects who came through Migrate Fun, as well as some of your past guests as well. So kind of cool to see some friendly faces there.
Migrate Fun is popping up all over our
Yep.
timeline as the collapse of Believe unfolds, and you guys are the benefactors. And I wonder, like, what is going on, Jake? What is going on?
Well, yeah, you know, it's funny and kind of ironic because when we launched Migrate Fun in July, there was an immense amount of pushback on the idea. A lot of people considering it a platform that allows people to rug their communities, to people not understanding what migrations are, to now completely 4 months later, all the people who came out against migrations, including Believe was one of those, ended up trying to implement their own version of it. You know, I'll let the people decide on whether they did it in the right manner or not. But migrations have been around for quite a long time. Actually, our parent company, Emblem Vault, that was founded in 2016, actually did its first migration itself. There was never an ICO for Emblem. It migrated from a travel rewards blockchain in 2014 before Ethereum existed to Counterparty in 2016 through a migration. So our entire company's history of 10 years started off with migrations, and Migrate Fun is the first attempt at attempting to commercialize the idea. And it's because of the proliferation of locked liquidity pools that allows it to happen.
Jake, can you kind of give us a glimpse into what do you see the future of just migrations looking like as we see launch pads pop up left and right, the lock liquidity being a big thing, obviously, which was put in place to prevent rug pullers. We obviously saw people finding ways around that. But what does the future of migrations look like? Is this something that's going to be necessary forever? Is it something you foresee going on for 3 more months? Just that whole thought.
It's a good question. Migrations are simply just the ability of builder choice. I think that we're big believers in interoperability. That's what Emblem Vault was basically built on the thesis of, and so is Migrate Fun. This idea that if a creator who launched a token has a large liquidity pool, they should be able to take that to any place that they would like to, right? But the locked component of it has made it difficult for teams to do. We believe that that liquidity was earned by them, so therefore they should be able to take it to areas or launch pads or ecosystems that offer the best terms or that are more preferable to the product that exists. Migrations, I think, are something that's going to continue. I don't think it's going to stop anytime as long as lock liquidity pools continue to be something of existence. This will continue to grow, and we'll continue to expand it to other chains like Base once their kind of launchpad ecosystem starts to take off. It's still maybe a year behind or so, in our opinion, comparative to Solana. But as of today, we launched Migrate Fun in July based off of our own necessity. We launched our own project, Agent Hustle, which you see down there in the bottom left-hand corner. Because we launched it on Pump Fun at the end of last year. And after a few months, we realized that there was no ability for creator rewards. We didn't have any of the tokens, and we needed to rebrand it. And so we came up with this mechanism of Migrate Fun to help ourselves migrate to a Radium pool. Ultimately, after we did that, the demand for Migrate Fun just simply exploded to the point where we now 4 months later have talked with over 200 teams, literally over 200 teams about migrations. We've completed 16 migrations. There's 4 ongoing right now. And we're about to launch a migration group with Pump Fun, and we've been working with them directly to help, I think, about over 20 teams migrate to Pump Fun here at the end of the year.
Wow.
What does that relationship look like?
It's good. So when we launched Migrate Fun, we reached out to every team that are all the major launch pads. We reached out to Meteora, to Pump Fun, to Radium. Radium was the only team who got back to us. And then they brought Bonk Fun on board. And at the end of September, we helped 14 teams migrate to Radium and BonkFun. As you can see here on this image, the ticker or the image next to it is the area that they are migrating to.
Much less.
And now with PumpFun, they ended up reaching out to us about a month ago. It seems as it's coordinated pretty well with their ICM expansion. And the relationship's, well, it's actually pretty similar to our relationship with BonkFun and with Radium. They don't tell us their internal strategies. They don't tell us their marketing strategies. They answer technical questions, and they bring all the business to us. That was the same thing that BonkFun did. They brought the business to us. PumpFun brings the business to us as well. And I would say the relationship is pretty good. Alon is in the chat as well as some of their other team members, and they're taking this very seriously. So I think their expansion to or the expansion into the ICM market is going to be something to follow pretty heavily.
So how are you, and maybe I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit here, but how are you guys making money on this? So like what's your structure like?
Yeah, so DeFi Llama tracks our platform revenue. I think we've generated about $200,000 in revenue so far. We charge 3.75% of the total liquidity migrated. So for example, if a liquidity pool has $1 million and we're able to, and they get a high turnout, let's say 100%, although impossible for 100%, but let's say that happens, then we would make $37,500. That's taken out automatically through the recovered Solana in the protocol. So there's no upfront fees. There's no perpetual fees. We do not take a stake in their liquidity pool. We do not take their native tokens. We charge one time on Solana, and then it's over. And then they move on to their ecosystem. And the reason why we do that is the same reason why we migrated ourselves. You want a fresh start, and most teams, they want full control of their assets. And so for that, we don't want to interfere with that long term.
What's the most we're seeing teams being able to migrate over? I saw Zero, and I have mine pulled up, and I love this DeFi Llama. I'll definitely get it back up in a second. But real quick, we have Zero, who migrated. It looked like 95% of their tokens over. We have Jim migration under that with 84, then 80, and it kind of drops a little down as we go. What do you think attributes to these high percent migrations as opposed to something maybe with lower turnout?
It's a good question. I'm glad you asked that. So we go through a large preparation. Kind of the business side of this is very similar to real estate, where you get a one-time commission essentially, but the conversations with these teams last for months. So a preparation is the most important. We do get a lot of teams who come in and they say, hey, we want to migrate. We want to start the migration tomorrow. And we tell them no. We tell them that that's not allowed. Generally, the teams who prepare the best, they give their community the most heads up noticed, and they market it effectively, are the ones who have the highest turnout. So Zira, they marketed it for over a month, the migration, and it times pretty well with the privacy meta starting to take off. And so everyone there was completely bought in. Honestly, we never thought that. I thought 90% or higher was impossible. I didn't think it was even something closely attainable. When we migrated from Tensorium to Hustle, we had 77.5%. And so we've had 3 teams now beat that out. And the Zira team was based. They did a really good job. I don't think I find it highly unlikely that number will ever be surpassed. Obviously, it could. But think about it, 95% was migrated. There was 2% in their liquidity pool at the time. So essentially 97% of all tokens that were possible or were migrated in a sense. And they've done a good job. When we do this pump fund group, there's much larger projects that are doing that in terms of a liquidity pool standpoint, maybe not as much as the market cap. For our perspective, it doesn't really matter what the market cap is. It's all about the liquidity that's migrating, and that's where we focus on the users. And so with this pump fund group, we're starting to get into projects that have a lot of exchange listings. One of them even has a Binance listing. And so we've been building relationships with the exchanges, which is a whole nother story, to say the least. Every exchange is somewhat of a cartel, in my opinion. But
if I may
gotta
ask,
be careful with what you say.
I was gonna. Is it too much to ask why, or you know, is that too much to ask here on screen?
No, I mean, we have to take a firm stance with the exchanges. You know, they're now, a lot of them have actually been pretty cool once you kind of get past the initial conversation. Every single exchange has its own operations. They have their own policies and procedures, and the large majority of them do not engage with on-chain activity. So therefore, you have to create certain procedures for them. So we've been able to create 2 different operations to accommodate the exchanges, because some of these exchanges have 5 to 10% of the total supply. So with the Pay AI migration that's happening right now, there's about 10 exchanges that have participated. I do have to give credit to I put a post out from my account today. I think BingX, Ourbit, Mexi, and there was another one who actually participated in the migration itself on chain, which is like a huge step forward. But some of the other ones, we basically create a portal for them once the migration ends to basically withdraw funds and to send it to the exchanges. You know, some of them are quite predatory, to say the least, demanding relisting fees, and kind of going about it in a different way. But if you stay pretty firm with them, they end up dropping the relisting fee. And because they know that if we just say, hey, delist the token, then most of them generally tend to backtrack because they know that they're losing out on profits on themselves. And so actually quite appreciative of it now. And I do think we're making a lot of headway, because that is the biggest hurdle, I would say, for all of this is the exchange listings, and dealing with market makers. But with this pump fund migration group, it's taking a little bit longer because we have, I think, 7 or 8 tokens that have at least 5 exchange listings. So it's somewhat of a pretty strenuous process, and it's tough to kind of balance all of it. But I think over time, you know, Migrate Fund ends up just becoming the de facto migration platform, as other competitors who have tried to pop up have basically gone to zero already.
So on the exchange, just from, sorry, Chell, you wanted to, I have a question on this exchanges first before we move on.
Yeah, no, just on this exchange as well, was just in regards to, like, do you guys just see it? Is it just a matter of continuing to improve these relationships with exchanges to kind of make that participation number kind of skyrocket? Is that what am I getting that right?
Yeah. So Pay AI was kind of really the first project that had more than 10 exchange listings. So our relationship with them has been really well, which has helped us build a relationship with the exchanges to build good credibility and notoriety. It's a lot of a cat and mouse game, which I've realized, because these exchanges, they look for announcements from the projects to kind of confirm that there is a migration, right? And totally warranted, because there's so many scams that pop up. You have to be very careful. And then on top of that, then it's like the exchanges look for posts from other exchanges participating. So it's a lot of this chicken or the egg to get some of them to be on board and build relationships. But now we've kind of gotten past where we have 4 exchanges who are participating on chain. We have another 4 exchanges that we're doing like the second operation with them afterwards, and preparing for this pump fund one, because obviously we're working with one of the highest or most profitable companies in the industry who has a lot of credibility. And so I think once we get through this pump fund group, which should have over 20 teams migrating, and should be a pretty large attention event in general, I think it'll really wake up a lot of the exchanges, and then they'll just start participating on chain, just like every other token holder does.
Can I just ask about the UX with, so if you're an exchange user, you hold the tokens, are they getting it like an email that's prompting them to migrate, or is the exchange doing it at kind of their, like, you know, cold storage or hot wallet level?
So the exchanges who are participating on chain are doing it exactly as the users do, exactly through this interface that they see here. Some of the other ones that have different policies and procedures, we're engaged with them through emails and telegrams. You kind of like to get in contact with some of these exchanges, you have to go through so many hoops and ladders to talk to the right person. And
you don't know who's like a manager or listing manager, who's not, who's in BD for these.
Yeah, right. They're scammers. A lot of these exchanges now even have like team verification portals where you put in the Twitter handle and it tells you if they're on the team or not. Right? Like it's
crazy.
It's kind of crazy how many scammers circle the kind of exchanges. And there's now even scams for migrate funds. So I always tell people to be very careful and not engage with anything unless it's officially on the platform itself. But then the second option is just more of a, I guess you'd say, manual process that we do on the back end with them as we're kind of still creating this pathway. But we do encourage all the exchanges to participate just as everyone else does through here, because they're going to get their tokens much faster than doing it in this manual process on the back end.
I'd love to circle back to this pump fund migration event. You've touched on it twice now. You seem to think it's going to be a pretty big deal. It seems like maybe it's going to all happen at once. I'm not sure what that looks like, but could you just give us more information on that? Because it seems like an important thing to touch on.
Yeah. And the reason why I focus on it is we had a lot of success with our first bonk fund migration group. So at the end of September, so if you go to claims and you see start date, you'll see all of the tokens started at the same exact time. Or most of them in 925.
Yeah.
This was our first big migration group to Bonk Fund, and a handful of projects went to Radium. They're pretty much similar teams, as Bonk Fund is built on top of Radium. And so we're basically just taking the same exact thing that we did, but applying it to Pump Fund on a little bit of a bigger scale, because there's a little bit more demand there than there was with Bonk Fund. Although Bonk Fund, there was a lot of people, over 100 teams interested in Bonk Fund at the time. And so the reason why we do this is, first, this idea of migrations is still fairly new. So people are still coming around to terms of what it even means. And if you get 20 teams who are migrating at the same time, the attention is not 1 + 1 = 2. The attention is generally 1 + 1 = 3, because you're getting a lot of speculators who like to buy tokens, who come through Migrate Fund, because it's a simple idea that most of them are utility projects, but also that the teams are unwilling to give up. We like to say migrations are bullish, because it shows that a lot of these teams are kind of on their last legs, right? They have no access to LP rewards. They didn't acquire any token treasury. They need to rebrand. They need to do something. And so we have a lot of people who look for these migration groups because they're going to buy the token and hold to it long term. Radar is one of those teams that was just on right before me, or two before me. When they approached us, they were at $50,000 market cap. They're at what, like 2 million now?
Yeah, they went crazy.
When they completed their migration, I think their market cap was 100,000 or 150,000. So since they completed their migration in a month, they've 10x'd, right? And it's because there was a lot of people in our community who was buying Radar because they liked the product, they liked the team, and they're kind of one of the shining examples of gems who migrate and find success afterwards, because they rebranded, as well as maybe they said that they were Tilt WTF before that.
So there's alpha. There's real quick, Don. So there's alpha in just kind of basically stalking your platform, essentially.
Yes.
Got it. Noted. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Don.
make sure. Oh, and it's pretty heavily. There are memes that migrate, but I would say 75%, 3 and 4 projects are generally utility projects.
Nice.
We had AI and privacy was this first group. I won't say as much as second group, but we've had 13 teams announced already. A lot of them coming from Believe. And then there's some larger projects that'll be announcing this week as well.
Nice.
It's an interesting case here, because Radar came from Heaven Dex, which just had no attention, no volume. And then they migrated, obviously, through you guys, like you said. And since that migration, you obviously made a good point that people were bidding this going into migration, expecting a pump. Clearly, since migration, I think even if I looked at the chart correctly, prior to migration, that initial chart got a nice pump of people speculating. So what does that look like? Is that people buying the original token, migrating themselves over to the new token? Is that how it looks?
And you guys are asking all the right questions. So internally, we actually call this the migration squeeze. And if you pull up the old Zero chart, this is the most pronounced version. It was called Monopoly Money, but it's like M0 and 3Y.
I'm so glad they migrated. I hated their old name.
Yeah. So you got to go M0, not O. But it's Monopoly Money. You see this, it's the most pronounced, where generally in the last day of the migration, you will see this gigantic pump upwards. See, as you can see it in the very end, this last candle and then the dump,
Oh
you
my
see it
goodness.
went up.
16 to nearly 40 mil.
And the reason why, so we call this a migration squeeze. This happened on our Tensorium chart, our own chart. We've seen this probably 5 to 10 times already. And it's because of the low float mechanic that happens. So when people are migrating, basically the process is you take your people are taking their tokens. They're basically putting it in a vault. And then once the migration ends and that final sell happens, then the community the people who migrated will come and get the new token. So for Zira's case at the very end, because they had 95% turnout on this last day, they had 80% of the tokens were locked. So you had this low float situation and people come in to buy at the very end because they don't want to miss the migration. So you get this gigantic squeeze upwards. And it's very common on the platform. Obviously with monopoly money, that was the most pronounced one. But you get, and it comes into this like migration group, right? You get more speculators that are not just the communities. So people try to buy early and sell to beat the sell-off, whereas you could kind of see there was a sell-off there before it kind of went up again before the final end. And yeah, it's no doubt in my mind this will happen again to some of the projects, but generally it's for projects that have a 70% or higher migration participation rate. You see this happen.
And what's the candle? What's the percentage on that candle, Dom?
120%. Well, here
Just for reference.
I'll do the full day for you. The full day from wick to wick is from 16.2 mil up to, I'll even do the next day's wick, up to 40 mil, which is 150% pump.
Wow.
Yeah, and
I love the migration squeeze narrative. That's pretty cool.
That's
I mean, it
actually
makes
what I'm gonna
sense.
watch
But
out for.
There's validity. Look, I think Jake made a good point. Lots of these teams they've been grinding for months. They're on overlooked platforms. We know lots of them are gonna migrate to something like Pump Fund, where Spotlight account's gonna talk about them. They're gonna get some more eyes. The migration itself is gonna bring attention to it. And so it makes sense for these projects, especially when they've been sideways for months and people have been accumulating at these ground floor levels, to have this squeeze here going into migration. So it's a really like there's an angle here to play some of these, and I have realized that before you came on, Jake. So it's really interesting that you're pointing this out.
Yeah, it's for us, it's very rewarding because we get to talk with builders, we get to network with their communities. But the 90% of the teams who are migrating, they're at their last leg. They're running out of funds, or they need attention, or in belief situation that they're not seeing the type of support from their ecosystem, or they don't like the way that it's operated, or whatever it is. It kind of really changes, and it's interesting to be in a point where Migrate Funds positioned itself right now in between this like trifecta of Goliaths on Solana, between Pump Fund and Pump Swap, right? And then you have Radium and Bonk that are partnered, and then you have Meteora, who's owned by Jupiter, right? And Moonshot, and that's kind of a trifecta. We haven't integrated to Meteora yet, but we just position ourselves as a neutral third party. It's been a little bit tougher to do or to implement than it is to say, because there is some bad blood between these three kind of Goliaths. But that is our intention. We just focus on the builders themselves. We don't do any bidding for any of the other launch pads. All of our partners, they all bring the business to us, and we just directly reflect what their communities are looking for. But the reason why I mentioned that is 2 months ago, everyone wanted to leave Pump to go to Bonk Fund, because Bonk Fund had the attention. They had announced the partnership with Kick. They were working with the World Liberty Fi. And most of those teams are migrating over there because they wanted community support. Bonk is a gigantic meme coin, huge community. The team on Radium, the team on Bonk, awesome people, to say the least. And so a lot of teams ended up moving over there. Now we're kind of seeing a shift over to Pump as they changed their fees, right, to have this kind of dynamic fee model. And then they launched more focus on CCM. And now with the focus to ICM, we're seeing teams from all different ecosystems wanting to kind of move over there. So you just see this sway back and forth. And for us, more launch pads just means more migrations. But I think as the awareness of migrations exist, and once we finally make the platform public in Q1 next year, to where you don't even need us, you could just go ahead and launch your own migration. I think this is just something that's only just going to continue to grow.
So we talked about the teams that are migrating and about the different behemoths that you talked about. Is there any, like, do you see any evidence that these behemoths are trying to retain teams? So, you know, like it seems like Believe just kind of let them out the door and said, you know what, we're going to wash our hands of these projects. We're going to move in a different direction. So it seems to work for them. But do you see any good examples of, like, you know, the chains trying to, or the infrastructure players trying to retain teams and keep them on their trading on their products?
Yeah, one of your sponsors is actually a pretty good example of Moby, who had announced that they were going to migrate to Bonk, and we'd been working with them pretty closely for a while, and then they had notified us that they weren't going to migrate anymore, and they announced that they were staying over on Pump Fun. I don't know the conversations that were held in the back, but that's one example. And it's a tough position somewhat for these launch pads, because some of these teams are starting to become very demanding of requests, right? Where they're starting to basically try to position Bonk and Pump against each other to try to get demands from demands and requests from these different launch pads for specific things. I have to say a lot of the requests are somewhat outlandish. People asking for these launch pads to buy into their ICOs, or buy equity in their company, right? Or buy their bags, or basically highlight them every single day. But you know, a closed mouth doesn't get fed. So, you know, I totally understand from these projects, but I do see it starting to kind of tip over a little bit, and it's probably going to get worse before it gets better, of these teams using migration threat as something to decide on where they want to go. And so, you know, we'll kind of see what happens there. But for us, it comes down to builder choice. I think that if you're a creator, you should be able to take your liquidity and move wherever you want, because you rightfully earn that, right, through your promotion and such. And before launchpads on Solana existed, you know, lock liquidity pools were not that common. So really, you could just pull the liquidity, take a snapshot of your holders, and then airdrop them the new token. But with a lock liquidity pool, that's not possible. So you have to create these migration mechanics to ensure that all of it's possible.
Which is, for reference, what you actually see going on here, correct? That's you guys getting the tokens transferred and then selling off to drain the liquidity and then reinvest it back into the new token. Is that right?
Yeah. It's funny because, as you know, the timeline just looks for attention and engagement. So anytime a migration happens from a big project, you see a bunch of the projects coming in and saying, "Look, they rugged whatever." But for us,
Believe's chart kind of, you know, looks like that anyways.
The one I will say something about Believe right after this, but yeah, basically how the mechanic works is users come in, they migrate their tokens. Once the migration ends, we take all the tokens, sell it, and then we use that Solana and the new token to seed the new liquidity pool, or in Pump's case, to go through the bonding curve. You know, there is no perfect migration, and there's going to be some controversy with it no matter what. Either the people who miss the migration may be penalized in some capacity, or the teams try to dilute by increasing the supply. So therefore, the token holders who are migrating are being affected. What Believe did wrong is they impacted both of these groups. They diluted the supply, they increased it 30%, and then they also assigned a penalty to everyone who missed the migration, loses on their tokens. So in that example, you're literally affecting everybody. And so that's probably was one of the detriments. We, from the platform, never recommend increasing the supply. We actually take the opposite approach, and we say to penalize the people who missed the migration. And we have a internal tool which is used a lot in exercise, which is what we call the snapshot and claim tool. Once the migration ends, there's always going to be people who miss the migration because, I don't know, they were locked in a basement, or they're visiting Australia.
IRL happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. IRL, whatever the reason is, people come up with some crazy some crazy scenarios. But what we say is that you do not want to increase the supply, because you're going to affect the majority of people, which just means they're just not going to migrate it in general. And you need to get as many people across the line so that you can recover as much Solana from the liquidity pool. So we say you exercise a penalty. I would say the most common is generally 25%. So once the migration ends and that candle happens, our protocol takes a snapshot of all of the holders who missed the migration. And so then they'll come in and then take those tokens, turn it in, and then they'll get a discounted rate of whatever it is, right? So if you add 100 tokens and it's a 25% penalty, then you'll get 75%. We've seen people experiment across the board to 100% penalty, 50%, 25%, 0, etc. And generally, I would say like somewhere between 25 to 10% seems to be the best one, where the people who missed aren't like super pissed, right? But they're actually somewhat thankful because they still get the majority of it. But if you go to 100%, sometimes that is necessary, where it is a project who needs to recoup some of the supply, or they're on their last leg, or it was a CTO project and the old dev has some of the tokens that's locked in Streamflow. Like there's so many crazy situations to where that
And the
that
penalized amount goes to the migrator, right?
to the team, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. This is the controversial aspect, right? This is where some people are saying you're rugging your users, right? Or whatever. But kind of how we see it is these teams, the project at this point either goes to 0, right? Or they can get some of the tokens to go into their treasury and try to extend their runway in some capacity. And you're never going to get everyone participating. And sometimes what we've seen is that the token supply gets in the hands of these bot networks or malicious actors or rogue exchanges or whatever it is. And they want to basically have this migration so that these rogue acts, so that they could take that supply and then put it back into the team's hand. So, and again, we've had conversations with over 200 teams and we still find unique situations and edge cases. It's why it really reminds me of like a real estate transaction where if you're selling your house, right, and you have this real estate agent, they're helping you not with just selling the house, but also all this administrative work on the back end. You're explaining your situation, right? You need to see like how many funds you have in all of these situations. And so it's very symbolic to what we're doing here. And we just like to say here, it's just more of like a business relocation service. You're taking your business from one AMM or one launchpad and you're moving it over to one AMM or launchpad. And eventually you can move from one launchpad on one chain to one launchpad on another chain. That's just like business relocation.
I gotta put this in perspective because there was a token called Kin. It was one of the first SPL tokens ever created by Kick. This is back in like 2019. I was part of that community. They had a lot of overhang from high emissions early on in the project. And no matter how hard we worked as a community to rebuild the project, the tech was good. There was this app called Code that was really nice to send money back and forth, but it didn't matter because any incremental buy in the chart ended up being sold into by old emissions and old businesses that didn't work very well. So I can see a lot of value in this. This feels like a public good, to be honest with you, as much as it is a business, which I appreciate. We have some notes to get into just token, team, roadmap, and any final wrapping thoughts here. But Jake, this has been great.
Appreciate it. Yeah. So the token of Migrate Fund is Hustle, which is actually the same token of our AI platform, Agent Hustle. And the reason why is that we launched Agent Hustle on Migrate Fund. It was the first project to come through Migrate Fund. And so we just took this idea of, hey, let's just use the same token for the platform. So we've been doing buybacks with Migrate Fund revenue. I think we've spent about 600 SOL so far on buybacks, which comes out to about 150K. And we're going to continue to do so. There's not a specific amount right now. But yeah, that's going to continue forward. And then we have something called our Hustle subscription service, which is on Agent Hustle, our AI terminal, that we're going to extend to Migrate Fund. And at the beginning of Q1, we'll have some announcements on where we kind of go from here. But it's been a large, first, the Migrate Fund was just more of a experiment because migration platform never existed before. So we're kind of just creating our own pathway, as well as we have an AI protocol that's quite popular. You could go trade on Solana, on Hedera, on Ethereum through an LLM experience, as well as we have Emblem Vault, which is the largest product within our ecosystem. And yeah, so buy hustle. That's our token. We'll have more announcements for that probably in Q1. Our goal right now is to complete the pump fund migration group as well as the current ongoing migrations. And I think once we complete the pump fund stuff, I think it's pretty much a blue ocean at that point, because our two competitors, I guess maybe even three, Slurf had a migration platform. I don't think they're pursuing it from a commercial standpoint. Believe was going to do a migration standpoint. Who knows if they continue that? And then Heavendex had also announced that they were going to do a migration platform. I haven't seen any of those pop up yet. So we're just going to continue building, continue creating this new market that we've introduced, just as the same way Emblem Vault created a new NFT bridge ecosystem in 2021. We're doing the same thing here with Migrate Fund, and it's very rewarding, really exciting that we get to work with all the best teams and talk with awesome co-hosts on your show like yourself.
Awesome. How have you guys seen, this migrate.fund business really transform into something? It's clearly not the first business you started with, but you've kind of, I'm not gonna say pivoted, because clearly you're working on agent hustle as well as still, but maybe become the main driver of revenue for you guys. How has that been? How has that felt in general?
It's been awesome. I got to say, when I joined our company, Emblem Vault, in 2022, it had done a lot of volume, $150 million in trading volume, taking Bitcoin NFTs, trading on OpenSea. But once the royalties got ripped away, we had to completely change that business model. And here with Migrate Fund, what I've learned being in this industry for 9 years is that if you get adoption and attention on something, then you need to continue to build it forward. And when we first launched Migrate Fund, it had a lot of attention, still does to this day, and a lot of demand. And so we're just going to continue to build it forward and continue to let it be the revenue driver. And if we need to make changes in the future based off of, the token or the brand or whatever it is, we'll make them. But right now, yeah, we get full force forward for Migrate Fund. I mean, right after I get off this, I still have 5 discovery calls today.
Sheesh.
For teams who want to migrate. It's literally new teams reaching out every single day about migrations, because they realize, oh, I have a choice. I can make this. I could take this liquidity, this $1 million in liquidity that's been traded on my token, and I could go move it somewhere else, or I could go take possession of it on my own. Yeah, absolutely. I love to. Who would not want that? Zira, we basically handed them $1 million. They had $1 million in liquidity that was locked on Pump. They migrated to Radium, and now they have full access to it. They even, after they migrated from Radium, they took the LP and moved it to Meteora. So now they have a pool on Meteora. We basically helped them take possession of $1 million. Who doesn't want that?
So what's interesting though is you're seeing a lot of these projects, like you mentioned, do this kind of as a last ditch effort. I think really though, this migration should probably happen, or at least is more beneficial happening early on in their life cycle rather than later on in their life cycle, before they turn into something big and it's a whole process and costs a bunch of money. They have to move a ton of liquidity over. What recommendations would you give teams looking to migrate if it's maybe in the back of their head right now, but they're like, well, it's not super pressing, I can push it off? What would you tell those people?
I would continue to watch your ecosystem and see if it's something that's more suitable for you. And if you want to continue on with that, like at some point for teams, we like to say that launch pads are somewhat training wheels. And then at some point when you get large enough, you're going to migrate to your own liquidity pool, like Radium or Meteora or Pump Fund or Pump Swap eventually when they open that up, to where you have full access to it and you continue to make best decisions. The actual ironic thing, I know you guys have to go here pretty soon, was that when we created Migrate Fund, our initial thought was like everyone would want to migrate to their own pool so that they can have full access to the LP tokens to do whatever they want with it. Ultimately, 90% of the people who reach out want to go to a launchpad, which I thought was kind of interesting, because we were like, why would you want to migrate from a lock liquidity pool to a lock liquidity pool? But what I've come to realize is the majority of the people on Solana are generally newer to the crypto industry. They don't want that responsibility of maintaining their own LP. And a lot of them are actually just looking for social support, right? They're going to Pump Fund because they have the ICM spotlight. They're going to Bonk Fund because of their relationship with Kick and World Liberty Fi, or the brand of Bonk. And Yeah, but what we've noticed is generally once the projects get a little bit larger, once they get around like a $15-20 million market cap, these teams then start saying, hey, I don't want to be in a launchpad anymore. I want to control my destiny. I want full 100% control over my liquidity. So therefore, I'm gonna migrate to an AMM and not a launchpad. And so, regardless of the state of where you're at, for some projects they're on their last leg, and then for other projects they're deciding to grow past these quote unquote training wheels to then go control their own destiny. But Pump Fund, I do have to give credit to Pump Fund. They are making a push to support these different creators in a way to where they might not even need to go to their own AMM anymore, because Pump Fund is now offering all these different additional services with their dynamic fees and streaming content. Now they have a trading terminal. So a lot of these teams, I think, might not even want to do that. But you could look at like Pay AI, for example, who's migrating with us. They're going from Pump Fund to a Radium pool so that they have 100% control, because they do have plans in the future. I'm not going to say all their plans, but they do have plans in their future to make other additions to their ecosystem that being in a lock liquidity pool would prevent them to do.
Jake, this was a fascinating conversation. It's so funny. I'm scrolling through this and, I see good friends of the show, Rec. I see friends of the show, Pay AI, and I keep going down. It's just everyone seems like someone we've had on, PNP. It's just so funny. And I'm glad that they're using your technology. So it's interesting as well from a marketing angle that all these people are tweeting, hey, we're migrating using migrate.fund, and how that just kind of circles back into like you becoming the de facto migration tool. I don't works in your favor really well. So Jake, we'll keep in contact. I think there's a lot to talk about. We got to get you helping migrate onto Meteora pools. I know that's one of the bases you wanted to cover. We are sponsored by Meteora, so we'd love to help make that introduction, as well as maybe direct some people your way, because we do talk with a lot of projects, especially on Believe, that are migrating now. So, Jake, appreciate you coming on today.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. I'm glad that we got to connect. Let's definitely stay in touch. And any project who's watching that wants to migrate, just shoot us a DM. That's what we say. We can start the conversation. If you guys recommend anyone to come over, just shoot me or the platform a DM, and we'll continue. Talked with a lot of people. We'll continue to grow it and just help really grow the Solana ecosystem to allow builders to operate and make decisions under their own capacity, and not just kind of feel like they're stuck in one area. So appreciate you guys again. I'm now a fan of the show, so I'll continue to watch as I do see friends coming on. So appreciate the opportunity to come share the vision. Maybe I'll have to come back and talk about Emblem and Agent Hustle at some point in time.
Yep, next year.
Take it easy, Jake. See you guys.
Thanks, Jake. Dude, that's
all right.
That was a sick segment.
Yeah, I definitely want to have him back. There was like a lot of questions I wanted to ask, but we just don't have enough time to cover it all.
Yeah.
But that's a really cool. I think
very public goods focused too. Like that's a serious utility. Is allowing teams to migrate and making it easy. So
they're in an interesting business, right? It's like they're migrating from everyone from everywhere, and so I can see these launch pads like coveting their service and not want, like, maybe making contracts where it's like, hey, you can migrate onto Radium, but if you migrate over to Meteora, we're gonna like null our contract or void our contract. So interesting perspective that he has there. But
I'm glad he's positioning as a neutral party. But I know we got Solomon Solo coming on. Let's cover the MetaDAO thesis.
Can we get Profit on first to kind of cover his thesis on Solomon? He's got some meetings, I know, so we want to get him in and out, and then we'll maybe have the Solomon team come on right after that. They're willing to wait for a bit.
Profit, welcome, bro.
Thanks for having me on.
Welcome back, dude. This is now what, the fourth time you've entered the MCG stage?
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me on. Hopefully the third of many.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Still, we don't get the mask.
Where's
shoot,
the mask?
I forgot. Yeah, I forgot. I promise you I will do that for the next one.
Okay, there we go. We'll lock that in. We'll see you at in Abu Dhabi, right? I believe I remember you saying you're going to be there for some of the events. Okay, so we'll see the mask in person.
Yep.
Lovely. Let's talk a bit about this newest raise you have. I think we were talking a little bit pre-show, and it seems like Solomon came around at the perfect time with the market just completely nuking. We're seeing stablecoin rise basically at its peak right now. Everyone's talking about stable coins and wanting to get a piece of it. And, most people are barred from because there's no upside investing in like a USDC or a USDT. You have to invest in the equity of the company. And
Kathy Wood saying it's going to take 300K off Bitcoin's market cap. Like, what's going on, man? That's
the question. So Prophet, maybe like general idea and thesis, when you think about Solomon Labs, I'm not sure if you approach them, they approach you, how this looks, but what's your take on stable coins and then more so Solomon Labs? You guys have a whole thesis that you wrote up yourself. So maybe talk about that.
Sure. Yeah. So I don't think I have like some macro interesting thesis on stablecoins. It was more just like, so I originally met someone on the Solomon team back at Solana Accelerate, like this event in New York City. I think that was back in maybe March or April or one of those, like in the early part of this year. And they seemed like a good team. And I think there is clearly demand for stable coins, right? Like Athena has a pretty good business. And then he reached out, maybe like a month ago, the founder of Solomon, and was like, hey, like we could be interested in, we've seen what's happened with these other projects like Avicii. We could be interested in launching on MetaDAO. And so I was like, okay, that would be sick. And so I sat down with him and we just talked about like, what are the risks from his perspective, like how it actually work. And in the end, he was like, yeah, I think this could make sense for us. So yeah.
What do you think about just the opportunity to have investable stablecoin right now? We see a lot of people don't really get that opportunity. Maybe walk me through how this is going to work. Do we invest in the stablecoin? We can generate that 20%, roughly 20% APY yield. Is this an investment into the revenues that flow back into the stablecoin? Help me understand that. And maybe a better question for the team, but I just want your perspective on being able to actually invest in stablecoins.
Sure. Yeah. So you are buying the like if you participate in the launch, you get solo tokens, which are an ownership coin over the project, which like own the IP and or like have control via decision markets over the IP, and also over like any revenues that are generated. So like to me, it's kind of the equivalent of like the ENA token on Athena.
Very interesting. Do you guys want to pull up the team then and just kind of chop it up with them? And Prophet, you can bounce in, bounce off whenever you want. I know you got some calls, so feel free to like dip whenever. But you guys want to just do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
Joshua, Ranga, how we doing? Joshua, I think you're muted. Can they hear me? We were having some StreamYard technical errors earlier.
StreamYard glitches, honestly.
Joshua, Ranga, can you guys hear us okay?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
okay, Ranga's
we can
good.
hear you, Ranga.
I can't hear. I can only hear some of you. I don't know what's going on.
Man, this is twice now this has happened.
Yeah, looks like we're having a bit of a glitch.
I can only hear one person, which is
Chill. Must be.
Yeah,
hold
maybe.
on, let me see what's going on.
Chill. You might have to run this.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe so. He's logging out and logging back in, and I can't hear Joshua yet. Maybe he does the same. And we'll see if we can.
We had no problem with Prophet. It's just this is a weird StreamYard glitch. Happened once before. Sorry.
We got to look into this. Joshua, maybe he probably, or I guess he can hear me. Joshua, maybe log off and log back in, and it might be working. Okay, sweet. In the meantime, I guess we'll just go through their website here, which is up on our stream. You can join the ICO here. Just click there. And maybe I'll send you this tweet as well, Josh, that I just went over, because it has all the links conveniently placed in the bio or at the bottom here. So that's in private if you want to add that to the list. But all right, Prophet, in the meantime, maybe just tell us a bit about general thoughts, why you're excited for this one, how MetaDAO's been doing. You guys have been literally top of mind share as well. How are you feeling in general?
I feel good. I mean, I feel stressed, but good. I mean, I think like I'm happy because it seems like we finally have a product that people actually want to use on both sides of the platform. As in, like, there are now high quality founders coming to me, like the Solomon team, who want to launch an ownership coin, and then there are also people who want to buy ownership coins. So that's like the ideal position to be in.
We saw Uniswap flip the fee switch on recently. Do you think we're just headed generally in that direction where it's like people are burnt out, tired of the old token model, and they want some more ownership? I know Uniswap's not nearly the same as MetaDAO, what you guys are building, but it's just, again, that idea of revenues coming back on chain and coming back to the people. Do you think that's something we're seeing the emergence of right now?
Yes, I do. And I think we're in like a secular shift right now where essentially so many tokens have been created. Like so many tokens on chain have been created. So many tokens have been launched on centralized exchanges. And the amount of capital in crypto has not dramatically increased since, say, 2021. Like if you look at, stablecoin supply, ironically, like if you look at Tether or USDC supply since 2021, we're a little bit higher, but we're not really that much higher. And so essentially, tokens are competing for capital, and as opposed to before, like in earlier cycles, it was more like capital was competing for tokens, and no matter how bad the token was, it would still get bid up. And yeah, so I think because of that, we see more and more teams doing buybacks, more and more teams wanting to like imbue their token with some sort of value, because otherwise they understand like it's not going to get a bid.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think you're spot on with that. I'm really excited and optimistic to see the future kind of trend in that direction. All right. Do we want to try again?
Do you have a quick profit question before profit
Sure.
hops? But I wanted to ask about the platform. We see these huge numbers of committed capital versus what the actual raise is. Is the mechanism that people get a proportional amount of their committed capital in the actual raise, or is it only like the first 2 million in and there's no point in committing after? Can you just address the mechanism real quick?
Yeah, it's a portion of your committed capital, so that's why like when you see huge committed amounts, they're kind of like a vanity metric, because it's not like if you see, for example, Umbra had like $156 million of commits. It wasn't like there was $156 million of demand for the Umbra token. It was more like people are like, okay, if this is 10x oversubscribed, maybe I put in 10x the amount of USDC so that I can get my desired allocation.
How do you plan to counteract people just trying to game the system like that, or is there no way to really do it that you found successfully?
Yeah, I actually tweeted about this recently. I know Chill responded and said it was a good idea, so that made me happy. But the basic system that I currently like, I'm not gonna walk. There's actually a bunch of wrong things you can do here, like a bunch of poor ways to solve this problem. Like some platforms will do first come first serve, for example, but then that gets sniped, where just like one person can own 100% of the supply. And so I think the way to solve this will be, or like our current like working model is anyone will get so you, for every dollar of an ownership coin that you hold every day, you get 1 point. And so that ownership coin could be Avicii, Umbra, whatever. And then your allocation to ICOs is pro rata, but instead of proportional to how much USDC you put in, it's based on the amount of points you own. So basically, like, people who hold tokens for longer get more allocation.
And do you have to spend those points, or those points just accumulate indefinitely?
I think they should probably just accumulate indefinitely.
Okay.
Although, so to counteract, like, we also want to make it so that new people can accumulate points. And so we're thinking points will decay by 1% a day.
Okay. Now, do you think this becomes too complex? We know you move the model or the narrative around Futarchy over to ownership coins, right? Same thing, different name to make it a little more simple. Like, do you think this is a little too difficult for people to understand, or maybe you're still ironing out the wording and phrasing of everything?
I think it's definitely more difficult to understand the current system, which I don't like. It's just, I have like two beliefs. One is that the current system is like not good enough. It needs to be improved. And then the other belief is that if there's money to be made, people in crypto tend to like be able to learn the mechanism, or like, at least if it's not too complicated. So yeah.
And this would apply for every this new mechanism would apply for every token that's launched on MetaDAO, right? Including the ones that have launched, or how would that work?
It would be for future ones, yeah.
For future ones, okay. Got
It's
it.
interesting because it's still, even with this model, it's still somewhat of a whale game, right? The people that hold the largest amounts, at least it's going back to true believers and true holders where they have these opportunities. But again, you still get those people that can just, pile into a token and get large allocations because of size, right? Which I'm not sure if that's a perk or a detracting feature, but interesting to think
I don't
about
think there's
nonetheless.
anything wrong with that. I mean, there are some ICO platforms that are just like every person gets a fixed allocation.
Mhm.
I don't know, like MetaDAO is not a communist platform. Like we're not like trying to give it everyone, like every person gets some money, like some UBI. It's more like, yeah, if you contribute more capital, like you're providing more capital to these projects, so you should get a larger share.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree.
I want to bring up a question in the chat. Last time you were on MCG, you talked about kind of vanity BD, how it's just kind of, groups, kind of just doing business together. However, you've had a lot of success with Avicii, and I think there was a mention that MetaDAO will, support Avicii business accounts, I believe, or projects getting Avicii business accounts. One question in the chat here by Crypto Cuba wants to know, will Solomon be integrated into MetaDAO for, its stablecoin being used for future launches potential? I'm just wondering, you seem to be building an ecosystem of products that might be feeding into each other.
Yeah, that's interesting. Actually, I hadn't thought about that. I mean, maybe if the value is there for us, I would say probably not in the short term, just because it's like a new thing, and people are comfortable with USDC. But yeah, maybe I'm open to it.
Love it.
We've seen some launch pads take percentages of the tokens that launch and just kind of build up a treasury. Is that something you guys have put any thought towards?
Yeah. So the way that we monetize is we take taker fees. So like people trading in the aftermarket and or in the secondary market, and we take those taker fees in both USDC and the tokens themselves. So like if someone sells, say like their Umbra tokens, then we today get 0.25% of the Umbra tokens that they sell. And so like that's what I see as our way to like amass these tokens. I don't really want to take a percentage of supply, just because historically the launch pads that have done that have been like very scammy projects, and I just like want to not look like those.
Avoid that at all costs. Yeah, no, fair enough.
Yeah,
what's the
you're definitely looking
strategy?
a lot different already.
Yeah, for sure. What's the strategy for holding those versus at some point, is there an exit on those tokens? Like, how do you think about management of those treasuries?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be up to MetaDAO and like the markets. I mean, yeah, I imagine if one of these becomes like a mature business, then yeah, you'd probably want to exit some or all of the position.
Yeah, it goes up to vote. The whole point of MetaDAO, right?
Yep.
People get to decide. Yeah, makes sense. Do you guys want to test our luck here with the Solomon Labs team again? See if Joshua
Let's
and
do
Rain
it.
can hear us.
Let's
I'm
see if
hoping.
we can.
Hey guys.
Okay,
Can you guys
Rain,
hear me?
can you hear us?
Gosh.
All right, sweet.
Joshua
Ron.
might be out of commission still, but
Try a different browser. I think it's a browser block or something, VPN.
And Renga, can you hear Dom and Josh okay?
Yeah, I can hear him now. Before it was just Josh.
Okay.
Dom, it looked like it was mute, but now we're good.
Awesome.
okay.
Perfect.
We can dive in the meantime.
Yeah, we can get started and then Joshua can hop on.
Cool. Firstly, guys, we're rounding off into the last 24 hours of your raise. It's been pretty well received, and typically we see the biggest uptick here in the final stretches. How are you feeling? Are you excited? Were you expecting this? Just give me the baseline thoughts here.
Yeah, the raw feelings. No, super pumped and excited. I think it's going incredibly well. Especially when you consider the macros. We've got fear index on 10.
Yep.
And I think we're seeing organic sort of real demand. I think we were looking at some numbers last night. I think the average median size was somewhere in a few $100s or something like that. And so we've got a lot of large number of believers coming in and participating. And then obviously, where things really pick up is in the last 12 hours or so, or last 10 hours. Most people come in that period, especially the funds, the VCs, and the larger whales. So things are going really well and sort of in line with what our expectations were.
Good. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing for this stream here. We're excited to get you on this final stretch. I think our goal is to be as information dense as possible and just give people the raw facts so they can see this and make a good investment decision. We just brought up with profit a second ago. It feels like now, like you mentioned, although fear and greed index is at a 10, I think it actually bounced a little bit today. Maybe it's back down. But although fear is so high right now, it seems like stablecoins seem like a very good outlet for people to earn that stable, consistent yield. So I'm excited to get into it. In terms of when you look at stablecoins and the difficulty to invest for the average person into stablecoin businesses, how are you opening up that opportunity to the masses here with this raise?
Yeah, that's excellent. I think the story here is that one of the most useful use cases for crypto was ICOs in 2017 and onwards, right? The idea was community governance, community ownership. Unfortunately, the spirit was there, but the execution not quite so, right? The incentives and alignments were all out of whack. And the industry moved towards traditional raises, small number of VCs getting large part of the pie. And then eventually there's some sort of TGE, and then the story, right? Low float, high FDV, trend to zero for most part. And what sucks is that stables are the cornerstone of crypto, and probably one of the most important, if not the most important. And we missed out on this opportunity for the community to actually own the rails. And so I think the timing of MetaDAO, I really see them as sort of the true successor of ICOs in fixing what was wrong with ICOs. And this is a huge opportunity to actually own these rails by the community. And so we're really excited to offer that opportunity.
But you guys have been doing this for a year already, right?
Yeah. So we, time in the market and TVL is really the equation there in terms of trust. So we wanted to make sure we were actually on chain with real capital deployed. And what we did was, you could think of it as a stealth launch, essentially. We ran a private beta. We integrated with DeFi Llama, and we did some things on chain. And through that, there was actually users flowing in and finding us by themselves without any advertisements. And so with those users, we were able to get some TVL, about 1.5 million worth. And in the last 6 to 7 months, we've actually distributed over 30,000 in real yield of distribution. You can see that on chain in our dashboard. So during that period, we actually survived, the largest market shocks in crypto history, right? Especially with October 10th, the Binance dislocations. And that was really important for us because we were fully deployed and we were able to experience that. And I can say that we survived it with no incidents, and everything ran through smoothly. And so finally, we were able to get to this stage.
I guess one of the things I wanted to just briefly touch on then is what safeguards are in place that protect you guys from these events like what happened on 10/10.
So just a little bit of background for the viewers, right? So we're running a basis trade, right? Where we're long spot and then short in perps, and we're collecting the funding rate. And so what happened on Binance was dislocations in ADLs, right? Auto deleveraging across sexes. And usually there's a queue in terms of priority of who gets deleveraged. So that's the thing you have to be careful of. We were fairly low on that queue in terms of priority. And so we avoided that. But more importantly, there's actually, Binance actually has guarantees against ADL for people who are coin margined. And so if you're in a coin margin position to begin with, you wouldn't have been deleveraged. In addition to that, you can actually strike deals with sexes to, we're not using any leverage or anything like that. So in that way, there's because we're lower priority in terms of the queue for deleveraging, you can actually even sign partnerships where it's say, okay, we won't. There's no you're ADL exempt essentially. So the biggest fear here is ADLs, and you want to avoid those, and that's what we've done.
It sounds, Ringa, like you have a very extensive background in this stuff. So I'm going to be interested to hear from the team. Joshua, are you with us? Can you hear? Oh man, I think he can hear. That's the part that hurts me the most because he's trying.
Can hear us.
He's trying.
Why don't you try your phone, Joshua? Maybe I don't know.
Yeah. If you try your phone, we can just wing it. This is a live show. Unfortunate.
We don't take ourselves too seriously here. We wanna make sure everyone's having a good time. So
yeah, maybe we'll let him work through that then in the background. Ranga, if you want to give us a brief overview of the team who's working on this. You've been doing this for a year now. Like I said, it sounds like you have some extensive knowledge in this space. Obviously, you've been doing it for a year, so I would hope so. But give us a background.
Yeah. So personally, my background's in electrical and biomedical engineering. Started my career off as a proud Canadian, at BlackBerry RIM. Back then, we used to call them RIM.
Yeah, let's go.
So I was
this is our token Canadian. Sorry, Josh is from Toronto.
Yeah, hey, I worked with a lot of RIM guys. A company called Kobo. They built e-readers.
Oh yeah,
so, yeah.
Oh cool. Yeah. No, I mean that was the pride and joy of Canada. It's unfortunate what happened, but there's still the tech hub out there. So I started off my career there as a software developer, and then I got into controls engineering, building airport systems, and then shortly after that, it was designing protocols, industrial protocols, specifically SIP, the Common Industrial Protocol, Ethernet IP. That's the core. It's the protocol that's run on the industrial floor where critical infrastructure lives on, right? So my life has mostly been about designing rails and building rails. So whether it was industrial rails where critical infrastructures is running on, and then in crypto, I got into real world assets in 2017. I had a project called Zywatt. I was the founder of that. And it's actually interesting, timing is everything. I was early, and you see something very similar with Daylight. I don't know if you guys have heard of Daylight, which it's about renewable energy yield being brought online. And so Zywatt is essentially sort of an early form of that. And then in 2021, 22, I built a NFT lending protocol as an anon. We did about 30 to 40 million in volume. And about that time, I started thinking about stables. I saw where sort of the industry was headed and the need for a better stable coin. And so, now I'm building dollar rails. And Joshua is our CTO. He built Bamboo Relay as a 0x layer. It was integrated with 0x layer. And he's sort of a one-man show that has experience building sexes, dexes from the ground up. And he's my co-founder, CTO. Hopefully, maybe we can finally hear from him. So that's my background.
Mic check with Joshua. Are you there, buddy?
We will not. I don't think we're going to be graced with the sweet embrace of Joshua's voice today.
Oh man, I remember step 1 of IT: unplug and restart. No.
Well, okay.
We have another version of Josh.
Yeah. Josh.
Oh,
yes.
There we go. There we go.
Too.
Oh my god, it's like.
Is that an accent I hear?
Yeah, I'm over here in Australia, so it's probably.
Oh no.
Geez. If he's in Australia, it must be very early morning for him then.
We don't really have schedules anymore.
6 a.m.
6 a.m. Well, we appreciate you coming on. Joshua, Ranga just gave a self-introduction. He gave a brief one of yourself. Maybe we'll let you cover that before we dive into the next topics.
Yeah, sure. So a way to mute my other one just because I can hear myself.
Let me do that for you. There you go.
Sweet.
Yeah, nothing worse than a little echo backstage.
Cheers.
All right, Josh, give us a deep dive, brother.
Yeah, wait a second. Sorry, it's just I can hear myself through my other connection.
Oh, no.
There we go. I removed you from the studio, your other one. So hopefully this will clean it up.
Can one of you guys talk?
Testing,
Yeah.
testing.
Testing 1 2.
Sorry, it's just a real pain because I connected on my phone, but then there's no audio coming through on that.
Jeez. This is a roller coaster.
Joshua, you don't have it up on your, you're not watching on your web or desktop, are you? You might be just tab open or something.
All right. Technical difficulties. I say we just
Continue.
keep it pushing. Okay. Let's start with Solomon. Okay. What is Solomon? How is it earning yield? How can the people make some money off of it?
Yeah, so Solomon Labs is the composable dollar that earns anywhere it sits, and Solomon is similar in a lot of ways to Athena in terms of its back-end infrastructure and sort of the framework is very similar, right? Where the yield is also generated in a very similar way, where, like I said, we're running a basis trade where we're long spot, short perps, and we're collecting the funding rate. That means we don't have directional risk in the market. These are strategies that have been run by hedge funds for decades, proven strategies. And so we have a steady source for yield, and that yield can be quite good depending on how bullish or bearish the market is, right? Anywhere historically, we're looking at about 15% annualized. And so that's where the yield is generated. And that's sort of where we start to deviate from other 2-token model stablecoin projects. So just a brief history, stablecoins have evolved in crypto. We've had USDT, USDC, where the issuer basically keeps all of the cut of everything they make that's backing that stablecoin, right? They're essentially IOUs that sit on chain. And then you had Athena that came along, and we had a lot before that. We had all sorts of experiments, all sorts of blowups, all sorts of weird self Ponzi like stable coins. I'm glad we're past that phase. But we had Athena come along and say, okay, we can get you permissionless yield on chain via this, backed by this basis trade. And actually, for the Solana folks, shout out to UXD. They were actually the first ones to do this on chain. They were the ones who created the stable coin on the basis of a basis trade. Unfortunately, I think they were too early again for their time. They were trying to do everything on chain, and so there wasn't a lot of open interest on the perps markets that existed at that time. There wasn't enough funding, and so they kind of just they didn't really take off. So Athena came along and they said, okay, the real open interest lives off chain. Let's get that, tap into that, bring it on chain. And where they found fit was, again, through permissionless yield. Anyone can stake to earn. But now we have a few of those. But the problem is there's like this tension between the two tokens, right? You have a stable coin, which is meant for spending. And then you have a staked version, which represents the saving instrument. But why would anyone use the spendable token and take on that additional risk without being rewarded, right? Like, why in the world would I? And this is why you don't see that stable leg or the stable coin being used in a DEX, for example. There's no USDE pairing with any of the other assets, right? Same with the other stable coins that are split into these two token models. And then you have all types of asymmetries between those two tokens, where you have liquidity preferences, you have risk differences, and that isn't actually priced transparently. It's pretty opaque, right? How much of the yield that's being generated flowing to the stakers versus being pushed through the ENA emissions or pushed on chain, right? And so what we said, okay, what we can do is we can formalize these rails and have clear yield rails. And by doing that, we can unlock this very clear use case of being able to stream yield to the stable coin itself without impacting its composability. And so, to put it simply, now with our stablecoin, the USDV can earn yield in the wallet it sits without without rebasing, without drifting in value, and be fully composable in something like a DEX pool or DEX swap pool. Or someone who holds that in a treasury can just get streamed it directly in that treasury wallet without having to deal with lockups, cooldowns, etc. And now neobanks is another use case that's really important.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a long-winded explanation of what we're doing and where we differ. But happy to dive into the specifics.
Yeah, no, so this is good. I want to try to fully grasp for myself and the audience here the prong token structure, and again, just dive into more about what you just mentioned here and what this means. So you're going to have the Solo token, which is going to launch. Where does that tie into USDV, SUSDV? Maybe if I had to make a mental map here of what the difference is, could you give us a simple breakdown of what USDV is, what SUSDV is, and what Solo is?
Yeah, let's start with the stablecoin USDV.
Okay.
That's the stablecoin. It stays at $1, is composable, and can be used anywhere where a dollar sits. SUSDV is the staked version of that. This is permissionless yield that anyone can access. So the masses who just want a saving instrument can come in, stake their USDV to get staked SUSDV, and they earn a yield based on the basis trade. And then finally, so there these two tokens, and there's two payment rails here, or two rails that provide yield. So one yield is through this permissionless model that we're talking about for staked USDV, and the other is what we call yield as a service, in short, YAS. So YAS is the product. Yes. YAS is think of it more along the lines of B2B, but it's more of an opt-in service that anyone can tap into as a USDV holder. So this is where I was mentioning the example of an LP or a treasury or a neobank that can go to our site. It'll populate, hey, you're in this treasury, you have this USDV sitting here, opt into the YAS service. And with one click, now you're being streamed the yield that is generated from the basis trade directly to the wallet that has the USDV sitting there, without impacting any, the composability. And more importantly, it's touchless, so you don't actually have to integrate or work within a program or anything, or work through a program. So there's also way less risk, contract risk in that sense, right? It's just completely touchless and seamless. So that's sort of the breakdown between USDV, SUSDV, and then the way we can stream yield, which is permissionless and what we're calling permissioned or opt-in. In terms of Solo, that's governance tokens became a meme, but that is the token that's being that we're describing as the ownership coin, right? That is using MetaDAO's governance framework. And so Solo here is what is aligned with the business itself. If the business is successful, if it's making money, right, we're obligated to put back all of the revenue into the treasury, right? The MetaDAO treasury DAO that's associated with Solomon.
So to put it in
Solo,
simple terms, the stable coin, the USDV, and then obviously you could stake it for SUSDV, is the product. Solo is the company.
Exactly.
Okay, perfect. And so with that governance token, let's explain that mechanism here. For those that aren't aware, with MetaDAO, all your revenues flow directly into a treasury, which are then voted on for how those are distributed and used, correct?
Correct. Yep. It's the same as every other protocol that's launched with MetaDAO.
Okay, and what does some of that breakdown look like? Obviously, you're doing this raise, so you're going to have a treasury of $2 million at least. Do you have the option to select more or less if you'd like?
Yeah. So, do you mean what we plan on doing with the money, or do you mean? Okay. Yeah. So after the raise, I think we outlined this pretty clearly in the ICO blogs post. We were actually very explicit about how the capital will be.
Yes, you did.
Raised. If you want to scroll down, and we can put it on the screen while we go down. Just hit that there's a specific link, ICO blog. Sorry, if you hit that ICO details.
Okay.
Uh,
I do remember seeing that tweet. Yep, there it is. Sweet.
The blog. Yeah, go to the bottom and then you'll see a very clear
Minimum raise 2
keep
million.
going, keep
How
going,
the
keep
sale
going.
works and what happens right after.
And then go down a little bit further. It's like I think it's basically at the bottom. Sorry.
It's all good.
Planned use of funds. Planned use
Here
funds.
it is.
There you go. So the 2 million is what allows us to be a lean startup. And it's bootstrapped, and that sort of covers runway for a year and a half to 2 years. And allows us to operate, right? But our target is to try to raise between 5 to 8, but I'll touch on that a little bit. But the 5 to 8, what that really does is allows us to scale and grow, right? Like we're done building, like the costs aren't associated with building. Now it's all about scaling. And building a stablecoin business is capital intensive. You need enough TVL and capital to actually just have a seat at the table. And so the first thing is obviously having enough liquidity within your primary pool, which is the USDC, USDV pool, where people get into the system or how they buy get into the stablecoin itself. So we need to have sufficient size there and be able to dynamically adjust those sizes. Then we need sufficient size for reserve. And then, when we negotiate rates with sexes and venues, right, and custody providers, it's all dependent on how much capital we have, right? And this allows us to get better rates. This means better yields, and then also negotiate better terms. Things like potentially ADL exemptions, right? The larger you are, and obviously the transparency you provide in terms of what you're doing, these things can lead into us basically being able to run a better stablecoin project. And then the first thing that we can do is actually we can take that 5 to 8 and deploy it into our own basis strategy, right? And so we can start earning revenue day one. We can start earning money on our treasury day one. And we can use that for all sorts of things. One of the ideas that we have is to run a type of liquidity mining program where we can boost the yield for people who are coming and using the stablecoin product. And it's self-sustaining, right? We're only talking about the yield that's generated on the treasury. So those are some of the things we'll use the funds for. But the key thing is we've already built the product. We're using the funds to scale.
So let's, I guess this was your plan to scale, but the question is, how can you scale, right? What's your number one thing in mind, top of mind? How do you really scale to be this massive USDC or this massive stablecoin conglomerate? Because you are competing against people like, USDC, Teller, big, extremely trusted, reputable brands. And you mentioned it's very capital intensive to compete with these people.
Yeah. So I think first is, I do think we're building a better product, right? I think we're building we're genuinely innovating here, right? And I'll touch on YAS to start with, because I think that is the headline here. YAS is unlocking your ability to earn yield or make stables, like over 150 billion of them, productive, right? Something that has not been possible before. And I think the flywheel will take effect very quickly. So imagine an LP that exists today. Let's say they have USDT and they're providing liquidity for what's a project you guys like on Solana?
MetaDAO.
Let's use Meta. So Meta, USDC pool. Okay, a liquidity provider is providing liquidity there, right? Let's say they have $1 million worth of stables in USDC, and they go and buy an equal amount of Meta, and they've established this position in Meteora pool. Right now, they're just earning on the base swap fees, right? Now, what would happen if they wanted to use YAS, or they use YAS? They would switch that stable leg into USDV, pair USDV with Meta. They would come to our site, opt into YAS without doing anything else. Now they're being streamed 15 to 16% yield on the stable leg. So that $1 million is now earning 15 to 16 per year. And it's strictly better, right? Because you're earning the base fees plus the yield. And think about what happens, right? As soon as this domino falls, right, you can now adjust your base fees slightly lower, because you're making all this money, and you can now to route most traffic or most swaps through your LP position, right? And so you become a more efficient and a dominant player as a dominant LP position, right? And so then it's just the domino effect. It forces the competition is going to force everyone else to seek this and to be able to compete. And that's really the what we're unlocking here with Yas. So I think the growth is going to come, truly from an actual innovation that we've created through the rails that we've built. And then secondly, I think like the way we're structuring this, especially in the growth phase, I think the incentive structure of having yield being boosted via our treasury, and there's a potential chance we could end up doing a points program, but it makes us the most attractive place to park your stables. And once you start to accumulate enough yield, you build trust, and you get more distribution, and then you dominate. I mean, that's the playbook.
So I think that's the key, right, Ranga? It's trust, because you come here,
Yep.
if you go to majority of these projects and say, hey, you can do exactly what you're doing now, except take home more of your base trading fees and also get a 15% APY on top of that if you implement our system, their eyes are going to light up as soon as they hear about that. The question is, you have to get them to trust you, right? That you're going to be able
Yep.
to come through with this, that the USDV token is not going to depeg or rug or whatever it might be. How do you do that trust part?
Yeah, so that's where I was talking about time in the market plus TVL. So we've spent time in the market where we've proven that we can survive market shocks. And the TVL here's part of the reason where, I think people start to trust things once the 5 to 10 million TVL kind of is like the baseline. And then, you grow from there. You do need that initial lock-in of TVL. So we do need to incentivize that initial TVL growth. But most of that trust is established through TVL and time in the market. And then I think the other important factor is being, very good about transparency around proof of reserves, right? Like you've seen something like Stream, which blew up, right? Where if you go to their proof of reserves page, it was like coming soon. How are people putting in hundreds of millions of dollars in TVL into these protocols where you have absolutely no transparency? People are just chasing yield, right? And I think with us, like this is why we spend a lot of time with our dashboards. We have, the API exposure to Binance, for example, to monitor live our positions, right? We have Cefu, who's providing attestations showing that, hey, they actually have the funds that are backing USDV. And then we're going to continue to expand on that element of trust and auditability. So those are sort of the three key areas that we need to focus on in order to establish trust and grow.
No, that makes sense. I think you touched on something really important here. You said like that starting TVL is the most important part. How would you say, when it comes to a difficulty perspective, how difficult is it to go from 0 to 1 rather than 1 to 100?
The 0 to 1 is very hard. It's much harder than the 1 to 100. I feel like we're at the 0 to 1 in the sense that we're, with the amount of one of the beauties of an ICO is distribution, right? You're not going to get distribution like this through a VC raise or a traditional raise. And so now you have people who, owners that actually want to use your project, and vice versa, users who are owners. And so there's incentive alignment. And so there's also, thousands of people that are going to go and market your product because they're holders, right? So that was I think that's a big part of the 0 to 1, where just getting your name and a level of trust where people are willing to at least use the product is a big one. And I think the 1 to 100 becomes a little bit easier. It's because then it's just about having a better product and offering something that others are not, where we have a real edge.
You mentioned time in the market being so important, and I think a lot of this ties into that time in the market. What have you guys been doing for the last 1 year? Obviously, you've built out this entire infrastructure. Can you tell us about what that's looked like? Fill us in on the gap, the last entire year leading up to this moment. What's that looked like?
Not sleeping well. No.
Foolish.
So it takes a lot to set up the infrastructure that we've done. That actually is a big part of it. Getting on boarded with Cefu, there's a bottleneck there. That's why not everyone can do it. People can come and do these basis trade based stables and sort of where it's just a dude taking your money and just putting it into an account and running these strategies, right? But to do it right, where you have a custody provider in the middle that is providing insurance, and then getting on board with Binance as a business entity, et cetera. All this infrastructure takes quite a bit, and then having sort of a policy-driven framework, with proper risks and safeguards in place, is another element of it. So that took time. That took serious time, right? I started building this, probably a year and a half ago, I would say. The first few months were just ideation and thinking about what we need to do, et cetera.
Got it.
Yeah, that was a core chunk of it. That's what we've been up to. But the last month or so was, month and a half, where we were really trying to figure out, like, how do we actually how do we launch in the most effective way where we can have the maximum distribution. And that's where, again, MetaDAO has been the difference.
Nice. And we have Joshua back, and we'll test his audio and get him on board here in a moment. I guess just one more question I had. I know usually with projects that stablecoin projects such as yourself, the really the thing that you want is integration into DeFi.
Yeah.
Have you opened any of those conversations with someone like a Meteora or any players really, so that way you can actually get kind of broad-based usage of your stablecoin?
Yeah, I'll let Joshua talk. I've been talking my head off. It's like, Joshua, you're not allowed to talk. That was part of what we've been doing for the past 8 months, right?
Nice.
We've gone across the Solana ecosystem, DeFi, across the DeFi verticals, like all the major apps where we're ready to, like, they're going to be launch partners day one. This is, if you go kind of poke around, you'll be able to see that we already have Pyth feeds, Oracle feeds live for USDV, SUSDV. That's a bottleneck towards getting integrated in, interest rate swap, credit swap apps, lending. I don't want to give away, I don't want to. Yeah,
well, maybe they're coming on the show
obvious
next week, so maybe we'll pry it out of them, or this week, later this week.
So we're well, we're going to be integrated. We're going to do more than just integrations. There's some community building there that happens when and tying it into our launch as well. So we have some cool ideas around that as well.
That's awesome. Well, let's get Joshua here. Joshua, quick sound check, quick mic check.
So I think here's what the plan's looking like, Ranga. It's looking like Joshua's got some stuff to show.
Yeah.
So maybe he's gonna pull it up and you'll narrate through what we're looking at, demos. I'm not sure if he's good to go right now. Maybe when he's getting that ready, we'll talk about something you mentioned earlier when you were talking about that 1 year what you guys have been working on for the last year and a half, actually, is what you said. It's important for people to realize it's not Ranga, it's not Joshua on the back end pushing the buttons to make these trades. You said you had a custody provider, plus there's infrastructure in place to take care of this. Can you explain that a little bit more and why it's important for that to be in place? And it kind of setting you apart from other people just, doing these funding rate arbitrage plays or other things like that.
Yeah, so we built a ground up back-end engine that actually runs this based on the policies that we've set, right? And what you're seeing is a sort of a sneak peek at the back end in terms of how these positions are managed. And, you kind of get to see a live view of how these positions, when capital comes into the system, there's some sanity checks that happen. And then these positions are opened, opened up and the positions are TWAP'd in, and there's not just sort of one lump sum order or someone just manually clicking, okay, I'm going to go in and out. I don't know what's going on there, but it's kind of hard to track. But anyway, so you're seeing a back end where what we call smart orders, and you're seeing a live view of, again, I think Joshua is now executing or opening up a trade here. And this is sort of the he's doing it manually at this point to show you how things are managed here. But there's also where we're actively monitoring the positions. And you can see right here, for example, we have our main position in BTC at the moment, right? And so the important thing to note here is this backend is agnostic to the venues that we're integrated with, right? So right now we're integrated with our Cephu custody provider and Binance, but from here we scale and we start working with, Fireblocks, Bybit, etc. Any exchange, any venue, we can seamlessly integrate that into this engine. So I think again, so the important part is it's not just, I'm going to take the money and then I'm going to go to Binance and then I'm going to open the strategy. This is a full infrastructure that we've built out from ground up to actually do this right.
This backend here is, I think this is, a lot of people are seeing this for the first time. Is this going to be viewable to the public?
No. This is an exclusive. So this is the view that we have. This is not, so we expose some of this on the front end for transparency. So what's important, things like, the positions that are open, where the money sits, how much money is in the reserve, how much money is in Cephu. Those are things are all exposed, and we're going to make it verifiable and auditable. But this backend, no, like this is not going to be, people will not have access to this in any way.
So what you're saying is viewers of MCG are getting this as inside out.
Maybe this isn't the smartest thing to do. I'm just joking. No, but no, this is just a terminal that our admins, Joshua, for example, can use to manage the system on the back end.
So you mentioned transparency being top of mind. What is going to be transparent for the people to see?
You can actually hop into Joshua, maybe just kind of, go to the dashboard page, for example. You can skip all that for now. Don't show them how much money you have.
I can remove this. I'll remove him for a second here.
Yeah, we'll get you set up.
No, I'm joking. No, you can pop. So this is an example of
nice.
So this is just your first few iterations of our dashboard. It's going to get even more. Like we're going to work with DeFi Llama as well for the.
Nice.
What we want to be able to do is expose have it be auditable, right? And so right now you're just seeing a direct, it's real time tracked in terms of what positions are held, how much money is there, where that money is, what positions are open, how much we're earning. And then if you go to, for example, distributions, right? So in our beta, we've distributed approximately 30,000 in yield. And you can actually track this on chain where each of these distributions were made. And during the beta, we were distributing every couple of days, for example.
Look at that. November 16th, $400 distribution. November 13th, $400 distribution. 11th, 581. Nice.
Yeah. So this is what I meant about transparency, but this will evolve into something even greater with the launch.
Can I ask about just like the exposure to the strategy? Is there a version like if you unstake your USDV, are you unexposed to the strategy, or is it for if you hold USDV, you're exposed to the strategy regardless if you're staked or not?
Yeah, if you hold USDV, you're exposed. And anyone who has USDV, SUSDV is exposed. And that's what I was mentioning about like Athena, for example, right? Like in Athena's case, both tokens is exposure to the strategy regardless, right? But only one party is getting paid yield. Mm-hmm. And that's why their stablecoin doesn't function as a stablecoin. It's just, it's sort of just an entry to the system. And what we're saying is we're making that side productive through, like yield as a service. And that's the key difference, right? We're changing the way the rails work there. In order to allow for that side to actually be productive.
So you have to stake to get that yield service, and the stablecoin itself is unexposed to the volatility of the yield mechanism.
No, I'm saying both the stablecoin and the staked version are exposed, right? Because the backing of the stablecoin is the basis trade, right? It's or the assets we hold. And sorry. we're also doing T-bill integration. So when we're not exposed to the basis trade, we're holding T-bills and we're generating yield through that. But regardless of whether you're USDV or SUSDV, you're exposed no matter what, because that's what's actually allowing this stable coin to exist, right? The backing of that.
Well, one of your big selling points here was, look, we got through 10-10 just fine. We've been here for a year and a half. What does the risk level, what kind of tolerance do you think it would take to hold something like this?
To quantify it,
I'd say let's just make it as simple as possible. On a scale of 1
think-
to 100, what risk level is this vault?
I think it's the best risk-adjusted return. Like that's my opinion. I mean, I think, and I think you can also here where you can see Athena also survived this, the largest dislocation event, right? Like doing the exact same thing, and they held together. There was no losses. There was no negative impact towards their stable.
To be fair, Circle depegged down to like 60 cents on the dollar when Silvergate Bank happened.
So during like extreme market events and shocks, there's always a possibility for any stablecoin to depeg, right?
Yeah.
The idea is like, is it actually fully backed and redeemable at certain place or certain, and how long does it take? So like you can always have temporary dislocations, I think. Like that's just a market reality, and it can happen to even something like USDC and even USDT on chain. If there's a significant enough event, you can get a depeg, a short-term depeg, right? So, but our goal is to have it that even if even something like that occurs, at the end of the day, it's actually redeemable for $1, right? There may be some market shocks where there's extreme volatility, where there's extreme demand that can cause that dislocation. Like that's temporary in the sense it's not real losses, or there's no realized loss.
We have a community question. I want to get to this before we go any further. Why should one stake USDV if they can just use YAS? I don't know if we touched on that.
Yeah. So with YAS, it's hard to scale YAS as a like everywhere across all DeFi. It's very difficult to do that. And what we're saying is that in terms of use case, right, the vast majority, like people who just want a saving instrument, they don't really care about, like, they're okay with having a token that drifts in value in terms of like, they don't care about the composability of it. They're just caring about it as an saving instrument. You're putting money into the saving account. Where YAS is important is where the composability is important, right? For like an LP position. And so that's why we're catering it towards users who actually need the composability. And it allows our system, because YAS is an opt-in system, it allows us to scale from a technical standpoint.
Sweet. Importantly, for the solo token, which has the ongoing raise now, how are you guys making money off of all this? Obviously, your users get to stake and they can earn yield, and then some can sign up for the YAS program and generate yield from that. How are you guys at a protocol level generating revenue?
Yeah, so that's pretty straightforward. There's two ways we earn revenue. One is a small cut that we take for executing the strategy, right? The yield that we're distributing. And then the other is same thing for YAS, but YAS can also serve as an additional revenue stream as a B2B service. So where neobanks, for example, want exposure or want YAS access, we can additionally take on service fees to give them that access, like a subscription fee, for example. And then there's like specific ways we can cater YAS in order to address their needs. And so that's another revenue stream. So those are, broadly speaking, those are the two ways we can generate revenue.
Have you guys had any conversations with neobanks? I know there's one particular neobank right now on MetaDAO that's got a lot of buzz.
I can't comment.
No comment. No, I love it. I love it. Josh, Chill, anything?
If there were to be, well, I guess you can decide on whether to answer this question or not. If there were to be, integrations into, something like a neobank or other protocols that could that are suitable for, or that would that a stablecoin integration would be good for, what would that look like in your opinion?
Yeah, so neobanks are a really important use case. So if you think about neobanks right now, right? Let's say I won't name one specific one, but you go and deposit, like the general flow is like, hey, I can deposit any crypto in my neobank, and then I can use, a credit card, a debit card associated with that. They issue a debit card, credit card that I can use for spending. And so what they need to do, neobanks, what they do is, okay, they hold your crypto assets. Let's say something like BTC or whatever, right? And when you spend money, first they look at if you have any stablecoin holdings, and if you don't have any stablecoin holdings, then they like go down to the next crypto asset, and then they have like an RFQ where they're going to get some sort of quote of like how much can they sell that asset for, and where's the best rate, etc. And then they sell it for stables, and there's a settlement that occurs like every 12 hours or every 24 hours, right? So what we're saying here is that with us, they, a user in a neobank, if they support USDV, a person can now hold stables in their neobank, and it gives access. And through Yas, we can start streaming this yield to their neobank, right? And so their balance just rises, right? The amount that they have continues to rise. And from a neobank's perspective, they don't need to worry about, like, let's say if they had a staked version of another stable coin where it's earning yield, and that's the comparison I'm making. With the staked version, they would have to, they can't unlock, they can't, because there's cooldown period, 7-day cooldown, so you can't do that because you need to settle. They would then have to sell that staked version in some illiquid DEX pool, get insane slippage, and defeats the purpose of holding that as a saving instrument in your neobank, and it just doesn't work. So with USDV, now you can earn real yield on your stables in a very seamless and easy way by integrating with us, and higher yield too. And you can use your neobank, credit card or debit card. And this is a huge, again, unlock for neobanks to this to give their users an option for this.
And you already have one interested?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We so it's not just neobanks. All of our launch, if you think about the launch partners, right? So we're doing integrations, but along the way, like all those conversations open doors, right? And so while we're doing integrations, we're saying, hey, by the way, what are you doing with the stables in your treasury? Most projects on chain deploy their treasury stables to do a DEX swap for their token, right? Like to support liquidity on DEXs, right? So, hey, what are you doing with, the stable leg of your DEX position, LP position, right? So, because a lot of the LP positions are actually owned by the company themselves, right? Or the projects themselves are supporting liquidity, right? And so those become very easy conversations for us to have and to move them forward in terms of Yas integration.
What do those conversations look like? Obviously, we kind of touched on this earlier with your whole BD side. You need to get people understanding the value of this offering here. What does the BD currently look like for you guys in terms of finding these projects, finding these protocols, getting them on board?
Yeah. So when we were in private beta, no one really a lot of people didn't know us. We were just establishing these relationships. The BD was just through working through integrations and seeing where that leads. I do want to mention our third team member. His name's Steven. He was former Venmo, PayPal. He led PYUSD at PayPal. He's the head of growth.
Wow.
BD.
Wow.
And so he's been phenomenal in establishing these relationships, integrations. And those conversations are just like, hey, we have a product that's better than anything you're using right now. Like it can serve your needs, and let's talk. And that's how the conversations evolve.
How did you guys end up landing him? Like, what was the connection there?
Yeah, it's interesting. I just sat down with I don't think you know him. He goes by WAQ, WAQ. He's a big rocket pool guy. He's like one of the biggest think the most amount of governance tokens for Rocket Pool are delegated to. Locally, I ran into this guy that was wearing a Rocket Pool shirt. And I came up to him and I'm like, hey, do you like, I was like, cool project, like cool shirt. But like, do you know the shirt? You're like, I thought it was just, the guy wearing a shirt. It's like, do you know the project? He's like, yeah, I'm actually like, I have the highest delegated voting power at Rocket Pool. I was like, oh, no way.
What?
And he lives like 10 minutes from me. And turns out Steven was a big part of the Rocket Pool community and was friends with Whack. And I was building Solomon, and I said, hey, I really need like someone of that caliber to, on my team. And he introduced me to Steven. We talked and we said, okay, like we got to do this. And so it was sort of, it's like time in the market is, time in the network pays off. You never know where things are going to lead.
Small world.
That is awesome.
A phenomenal story.
Wear swag because you never know what's gonna happen.
It's true. No, I 100% agree. We got to get Solomon swag out.
We do, man. We got to get Solomon's. Okay, well, we asked Prophet earlier. Are you guys going to be in Abu Dhabi for Finance Week and Met Dhabi and Breakpoint?
Yeah, I think Steven will be there. I will try to be there. It's going to be really because we're going to be prepping for launch. Like we're going to try to launch right after the raise. I'll try to be there. But Steven will definitely be there.
Okay, well, I hope you have some Solomon shirts while you're there.
Yeah, maybe we do an in-person with Steven and Matt Dobby. There's a question in the chat here. When will the yield earned via USDV be open to the public at token launch or later? DeFi with
so
spikes.
It is. So you can. I'm not sure what he means. I don't know if he's talking about Yas or just anyone can use the. So we have private beta. We're letting in users. We're still streaming in users as we get people interested. But public access will be shortly after the raise, and anyone can access the yield from USDV or SUSDV then.
Okay, that was my next question, actually. So you're in closed beta currently, but shortly after raise, you'll be going live with full access.
Exactly.
Okay, sweet. I mean, dude, that knocked out, I think, just about everything I had. Maybe give us future vision, roadmap, and like what you guys are most excited for here coming off this raise. Already been successful. You're targeting more like 5 to 8 mil, but plans, vision, assuming you hit your goals.
We've been around a while now. Been through a few cycles. I think I'm most excited about seeing sort of a resurgence in back to what crypto was about, like sort of the idealistic. Maybe it was a bit naive back in 2017, but like things like the ICO phase, like like we're getting the next version, like the real version of ICOs now, right? Like the proper versions, and that's true kind of across the industry. I was talking about Daylight and like Zywa, right? Like real world assets. Finally, I'm just really excited about real businesses that are actually building now. Like we had a bunch of real builders back then. Then we had a lot of grifting. We had a lot of scams. We still had real builders in between, but a lot of people became jaded and it was a tough time, I think. But I'm just really excited about where crypto's headed. And our journey in that is I really want Solomon to be a genuinely successful project, not just on chain, but off chain as well. Like I have a lot of ideas around bringing on board businesses that exist off chain, on chain via the Yas strategy. So there's like 2 businesses that I'm talking to right now off chain that have revolving capital, like of about 10 to 20 million, right? And they're not earning anything on that. And so, with something like a neobank, right, where we integrate and provide a business service where they hold that in, our USDV, and then, they can give their company and the credit cards they're using, the business credit cards or spending happens through that neobank. Like that's the type of stuff that really excites me. So not just on-chain growth, but specifically bringing capital off, that's off-chain right now, on-chain or integrating on-chain. And so that's what I'm excited about. And I think in general, obviously, like I want our USDV to be the stablecoin that powers the financial markets on, financial markets period on and off chain.
Do you know of any stablecoin companies that are fully on chain right now, right? Or that people have the ability to invest in the actual company success of?
Nothing off the top of my head. That's why I think this is so important. Like, the ethos of crypto early on, maybe the cyberpunk dream, was ownership of the rails, right? Ownership of the protocol, ownership of the apps, right? Like alignment. And yeah, no, this is what excites me about this race specifically.
Right on, dude. Awesome conversation. I think this came at the perfect time. I mean, really, I think the stablecoin narrative meta just has been flooding the internet right now, flooding mainstream. I think Web 2 is really interested in it, just seeing how vital it is and really bringing people on chain and actually having that adoption. I don't think this could have came at a better time, especially with Bitcoin really at 91K right now. It shows the value in having stable yield, right? Officially, Bitcoin's up 0% on the year. It's probably actually down now since that post came out. If you were invested in Solomon or SUSDV, you'd be up what, probably more like 15.
Well, our beta users earned somewhere around 25%. So
interesting. Rango, awesome. That was awesome conversation, man. We're rooting for you. We love to see it. Chill, Josh, anything you guys want to close out with?
No, I think you covered it really well. Rango, we appreciate you guys coming on. And honestly, man, I'm excited for the raise and you know the ending of it, but I'm even more excited to see what you guys do in the weeks and months ahead, man. So all the best, good luck, and we'd love to have you back. You know,
let's win together.
Awesome combo. Let's do it.
For sure. Hey guys, it was wonderful. I'm excited to hop back on in a few weeks or something, and we'll do it again.
We would love it. We would love it.
All right.
Sounds good, Rango. Take care.
Joshua's still on here too. So Joshua,
thanks, Joshua.
In the
Thanks, Joshua. We need to get you on next time, man.
Yeah.
We'll get Joshua on next time for sure.
Appreciate you.
Really cool, man. Dude. Man, MetaDAO is just putting out some projects. I'll tell you that much.
Heat.
Love it.
I gotta say, man, I love their pipeline here so far, and it just seems like everything is coming at the right time. You know what I mean? Like we saw it with Avicii, we saw it with Umbra, now we're seeing it with Solomon. Like they're coming out with some solid projects, and I just honestly, I love that. I
projects that are feeding the trenches.
You made an interesting point earlier, Chill. It's like if you really step back, they're building an ecosystem here. MetaProfit, he's got a bunch of pieces of the puzzle here. He's got, you know, a neobank that could be using the USDC rails, that can be using the privacy rails from Umbra and Loyal, right? And so like there is kind of this ecosystem forming where it's like, hey man, you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back, and we could actually have something pretty cool going on.
Yeah.
You know, that's something that I've always thought about. You know, you see this happening in TradFi all the time, right? Companies partner with companies and infrastructure powering each other. But you know, with utility projects, it was almost like they would partner with each other, but it's just for like an announcement for hype. Yeah. You know, it's just, we need something more. And what's excited me about utility projects is the technology. They leverage blockchain tech to power real world value generation and impact, right? GM path.
And also creating a fan base of users and people who are like, you know, you got in one, you're like, oh, I'm going to do the next one. And then, oh, there's this cool stablecoin one. I'll do that one as well. And it kind of like creates this community of users that are beyond just like fundraising mechanism. They're actually using the products.
What do we think about Profit's, for lack of better words, belief score that he's kind of just talked about a bit on the stream?
Yeah, so I forget the exact tweet, but I commented on that, and same thing. I've been saying this for weeks now, but you know, you change the holder incentives and you change the game around your launch pad. And so when I saw that he was kind of creating these points, this point system, I think is really nice. And I also think too on the back end, the decay idea is nice as well. Like, what if somebody they're a good holder for, you know, maybe the first 6-8 months of launch, but then, you know, after a while they have a stack of points, and they just start full stacking everything, their allos, right? So I think that decay is good because it not only makes you want to hold up front, but the decay also encourages holders to keep holding as launches come out. So I really love the incentive. Again, the markets aren't incentivizing people anymore. We've seen that. Believe projects have sat at like sub 100K when they have outrageous metrics. So the market will ignore you. There's no doubt about that. What we need to do is create proper incentives for people to buy and hold. And the point system with profit here is one way to do that.
This
Yeah,
was
guys.
probably one of my most favorite segments we've done. I put this one up there, even with the source stuff, like MetaDAO just nailing it. The teams are great. The people just seem genuine. So fired up. I love this holder score.
Yeah.
Dude,
thing.
I'm telling you, MetaDAO is they're really doing it, man. They're really doing it.
Thank God, because Believe, like, I just was heartbroken after Believe kind of fell apart. I was like,
Can we cover one thing? Just on, and I'm not trying to I'm not trying to bash Believe at all. This is not a show
At this
that does
point,
that.
man. At this point,
know.
you keep it real, right?
But yeah, at a certain point, like we just have to keep it real. And I'm sharing my screen here. What the heck are we doing, Pasternak? He deleted the flywheel tweet, and on top of that, there was a string of deletes around some Believe tweets as well. So it's like you already have this poor sentiment around Believe around your name, but then you go off and do this, and not only one tweet, but you start deleting a series of them. And then it's like, dang, like, okay, well, you're not doing yourself any favors, So I just wanted to point that out. It's just crazy. And I mean, Scooter is a FUD account at the end of the day, FUD King over there. Do you, but
well, we can counteract that with some breaking news if you want to get to that. I just sent some in the chat.
The last thing I'll say is Launch Coin got 10x volume than Believe over the weekend.
That's crazy.
That's crazy, right? That's crazy. 8K on Believe here, and then 81K on Launch Coin. But yeah, let's cover breaking news. Let's move on from this, man. Let's cover breaking news.
That's hilarious. Breaking news: Justin Trump says 2K dividends will be given middle of 2026, as of 1 minute ago by Bitcoin Archive. I'm not sure if they broke that or that's just the first one I'm seeing, but there is hope, guys. We talked, and stimmies are coming. Rates are getting cut. Printers about to go. Brr. I do think I'm seeing a lot of people get fiery, doomy, and gloomy. A lot of people the bulls are getting quiet.
Yep.
We're almost at 90K. I think, once you get that sub 90K price, it starts to put a perpetual DCA and TWAP on and buy those undervalued assets that you've been holding off on.
Did I just see that they're going to release unemployment data without an unemployment rate?
I meant to cover this last week on our streams. Yeah,
my dog ate my homework.
That's the first time I'm seeing this.
Yeah, dude, there was some crazy stuff. I meant to go over this last week, but I keep them bookmarked just in case it ever comes up. But yeah, the White House announced that the October jobs report will be released without an unemployment rate. Yeah, just crazy stuff happening, bro.
What's the word on that? They lost it and it's unrecoverable. It's likely it never recovers, is what they're saying. Like they'll never recover the data. And what happened there?
The cordless extension cord. I don't know. I don't know what the official explanation is on this.
There's probably like revisions. Like there was a bunch of revisions that happened, and I don't know if the data is super great, but I know in Canada they've called in our budget a bunch of different expenses in the government as investments instead of expenses, and it's changed the whole way we look at our deficit and debt to GDP ratio just overnight by just changing a definition. But it doesn't change the realities, and so it's kind of like government is moving the goalposts a little bit.
So that was my exact point. I'm glad you brought that up, Josh. It's like, so what, would we rather have just no data or skewed data, right? Because the government, we saw it during the whole Biden admin, all they're going to do is release data that looks good on paper, but in reality, when you dissect it, it's just not what it seems to be, right? They're going to report what they want to, and they're going to switch it how they want. So I don't think it's good to have no data, but I also think no matter what kind of data you're getting, unless you're really deeply reading into it, they're going to smudge it. They're going to fudge it. It's going to be theatrical data, if you will.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's not scaring many. It's not at the end of the day, this stuff I don't think is scaring everybody. It is scaring a portion of the market. But I just had one of my BTC friends. He has like 50 Bitcoin. He just texted me asking if we're buying. He's like, buy ETH while it's low. I don't know if you guys saw, by the way, ETH fell below 3,000. I don't know if we saw that.
Do we want to see it? Do we want to see it?
Jesus. Oh God.
3 months straight down for it just we can't have anything nice in crypto, man.
No, man, we can't just be financially secure, sitting here having fun. Like when?
But look, I really think
gunning for 95, dude. It's gunning for its lows, bro.
Nah, I'm thinking 125, 123. This support. I've had this drawn out for a while, and I really hope that we never it never came to it, but it seems like it's coming to it, right? So, but nah, I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it goes sub 100.
I mean, there's some momentum to the downside here on all these alts, man. Pump is down 13%. Jeez, dude.
Yeah, Pump is getting.
We're Pico bottom of trenches though. Like this is, I mean, there's no volume in the trenches right now.
Yeah, there's volume in some places actually. I've been watching. I've just been watching, man. I've been watching charts. I've been taking I don't know if you guys saw like it's just memes and degeneracy.
Ain't really, no volume, brother. Ain't no volume. We're getting 100. No volume, bro. We're getting 100K, 200K toppers. What we get every once in a blue moon, we get like used Honda. I think was hot today, but look,
let me show you.
Sure, something. You can always find fringe cases, but all it's gonna do is prove the reality that we were in a much better place even a couple months ago when the market still wasn't 100%. Good. So of course there's gonna be volume, but like you said, there's always volume. I think we're still not comparing it to the right numbers because we're nowhere near where we used to be at.
I got something. I got a okay. Do you want to do this real quick and then I got the next thing?
No, I was just showing the some charts that have been actually absolutely climbing recently, but it's all degeneracy though. It's all memes. It's nothing really.
What's this
nothing
one?
really of note. It's the 6-7 trend.
Oh
yeah.
Gosh, yeah.
So it's that chart that's going up. I mean, but yeah, let's see what you got. Let's see what you
got. Once
in
a blue moon.
So I wanted to note this earlier, but a number of SOL ETFs are going live. One Van Eck, but apparently earlier in the show, a Fidelity ETF showed up on whatever the NYSE's, I guess, tracker or back end. So yeah, this is going to have full staking rewards in a regulated and accessible format by none other than Van Eck. So there you go.
And Van Eck's been a player. They've been deeply involved in crypto for a while. Look, on the right side, you can even see the Van Eck PFP is a pudgy penguin.
So that's right here. I got to ask you guys because obviously with the ETH BTC ETFs, we saw kind of the unlock overhang from Grayscale, but Solana, they didn't have maybe Grayscale did have a SOL ETF or SOL fund, but is that overhang existing for SOL like it did for BTC ETH?
I'm not sure if I'm understanding the question.
So the mechanism was that if you redeemed out of Grayscale, it was a sell on the books. Basically, they had to send the SOL to Coinbase. Coinbase sold it and then gave the user their funds, and then they could go buy the ETF or buy spot crypto basically with it. It was like the redemption mechanism, but that doesn't exist with SOL. There's not a bunch of SOL locked up.
Oh, what? So did Ethereum or the foundation OTC a bunch of supply to some of these ETFs, and then when?
No, it was when the Bitcoin Grayscale fund got converted to an ETF. There was some sell pressure. I don't know. Chill. I think we were talking about this back in April, but
yeah, I remember we were talking about this. Honestly. I think the ETF is bullish for Solana, and I've been of the position with ETH and SOL ETFs that the ones with staking rewards will attract more capital because I mean you're holding Bitcoin and yeah, you get the volatility to the upside, but you also get it to the downside as well. But with some of these altcoins like ETH, or at the time ETH was so cheap. And even now, Solana is cheap. When a ETF launches, and you're telling me you can not only allocate, but then you can get yield on top of that, it just makes sense for people for you know, TradFi to want yield, because essentially in the during the bear market, there was more interest for Ethereum than there was for Bitcoin, simply because of that yield component. So I think once crypto kind of stabilizes, there will be that same appetite for yield bearing assets, and that's going to be through Ethereum and through Solana. Orgo news?
I don't know, Ave. I think he said Monday, but I don't see anything on Orgo's X account, and I don't know if Spencer posted anything. Yeah. So I don't know. No Orgo news that I can see.
I think
No
what you
Orgo
got to
news.
reply. Go up to Spencer's most recent tweet. He said starting Monday, right up there. Scroll up, scroll up.
More.
There we go. Shipping new changes soon. Starting weekly change log for Orgo starting Monday. Okay, so I'm
Good.
sure that's what you were talking about, huh, Ave?
Yeah,
Yep.
maybe that. Nothing yet, though. Nothing yet. But we'll
Not
keep
that I can
we'll keep
see.
an eye on it. We'll keep an eye on it. Going back to real quick, going back to our conversation earlier around the Kobisi letter. I'll share my screen. We talked about basically there was like global stimulus happening that will cause global inflation. Remember, inflation is good for assets like Bitcoin because it inflates prices, and prices go up versus the US dollar. That means markets are pumping. But there's an interesting tweet here that Elon replied to in conjunction with that thought. The tweet says the U.S. game plan is clear: inflate and grow our way out of $38 trillion in debt via an explosive generational bull market powered by AI and robotics. And it seems like Elon Musk agrees here when he says seems to be the only way. So I understand that like the price action is what it is. You know, Bitcoin is nuking. It's looking like it wants to go even lower. Same thing with ETH. Same thing with Sol. Things look bad, but I saw. I don't know if anybody follows this account, but I just started to follow this account, Killa XBT, and he posted something actually pretty. He posted something pretty interesting. He says here, constant hunts equal excessive market deleveraging. Ask yourself, what's the incentive behind these repeated hunts? Simple. They don't want you positioned in that direction. So I don't know if you guys saw just today, there's been 200 mil in longs liquidated just in the last like hour.
This is
right?
a
Hour and a half.
this is a killer tweet, bro.
Yeah. So it makes, and like I don't know if you guys have seen this over the last like several weeks. There have been these kind of like traps to kind of capture bulls and liquidate them, man. Like these hunts have been crazy. So we know that number one, the crime has been at an all-time high this quote unquote cycle. Like the manipulation in prices have been crazy. And so I'm thinking, if the government knows that there's about to be massive money printing, is it kind of in there? And I mean, obviously, they want to catch as many people off. The market wants to catch as many people offside as possible. Would this be the prime time to do that right before markets send due to inflation and massive stimulus? Do they try to make sure as many people are liquidated as possible before this thing full sends? Maybe, like, who knows at this point? But I think it's just a thought, something worth mentioning, something worth keeping in the back of your mind, because we see this Bitcoin chart, and while this one might look crazy, right? Like, oh my gosh, we're just going down and down and down. But when you actually chart it out, you realize, this is actually a kind of, we're coming into an area of high time frame demand. So, and this was Dom's call actually right here. This green box, this was all Dom. Monthly demand. I think you're looking at the weekly OB a little bit more closely, but this isn't the time to get max bearish, in my opinion. It is the time to be cautious, but it's not a time to take a side. For me, it's more so a time to observe, see what happens on the macro side, see what tailwinds we have. We've observed that at the beginning of this stream, and now it's just a matter of waiting for prices to react. So over these next few streams, for this week, this is what we'll be doing, guys. During the macro, the first 10 minutes of the show, 10-15 minutes, while we're looking at the macro side of things, we're looking at Bitcoin, we're looking at market news, we're looking at charts. What I'm going to be doing is looking at this monthly OB, this weekly OB. Ideally, I want in this area here to look for signs of reversal. I want to look for, if we do get below 90K, I want to look for signs of a reversal. If we lose this area and my invalidation is 75K, so right below, like we drop below this and you know, it's like pick up, pack your bags, go home. But if we get into this area, I'm going to look for signs of reversal and, you know, just see where the opportunity is. Not a time to be cute, but a time to be cautious and still have a positive outlook on the markets, but looking for the markets to show us a reason why to be positive and not just us going out on a limb. Abe says, when will people stop using leverage? Is literally a bad play unless you're very good trader, spot and chill. Yeah, no, definitely. Definitely leverage isn't for everyone, Abe, for sure. It definitely isn't. I still think leverage, like memes, like everything else, it's just a tool that you can use in the market to grow your portfolio. And so that's why I engage in leverage. I don't do it every day. I don't do it like, you know, excessively, but it is something that, you know, if you see that chart looks like it's going to reverse, you long it on a nice little entry, you have, you know, some rules in place. Why not? In my opinion, same thing with memes. Like, yeah, we're not out here to invest in memes, but if a chart looks good, meme looks good, why not? You know what I mean? Like, it's all about the setup, man. It's all about the setup.
I got a tweet from Virtual Bacon, who's done really good with macro. He's I get a lot of information from him on the macro side. I might share that. Just watch this video. I haven't watched it yet, but I did see it and I wanted to bring it up. He said in September 2019, the Fed quietly pivoted from QT to QE after the repo market froze. The overnight lending rate, or SOFR, spiked from 2.4% to 5.25% in a day, and banks had no cash to lend. Because of this, the Fed injected $75 billion to stabilize liquidity, marking the stealth start of QE. This banking crisis could happen again. And again, crisis is maybe not the word to describe it in our case, because we actually know how printing money and inflation and quantitative easing helps our coins go up. So let's watch this video.
What prompted the Fed to stop QT and start QE in September and October 2019? There was actually a crisis that not a lot of crypto people know of, but TradFi people really know what I'm talking about here. And that's the 2019 repo crisis. So in September 2019, because there was so little liquidity and such tight cash, nobody wanted to lend cash to other banks for basically risk-free. And this caused a huge crisis overnight in September 2019, where the SOFR rate, SOFR, this is the secured overnight financing rate, the risk-free interest rate essentially, increased from 2.43% to 5.25% on September 17th, the night of. This was way higher than the targeted rate of the Fed at that time, the targeted interest rate. So this is a big crisis because it really showed that liquidity was too tight and some banks could potentially not have enough cash for people to withdraw, which is going to cause a big cascade. So the Fed had to step in, and this is what prompted them to inject $75 billion in liquidity into the repo market on September 17th and actually come out and stop QT, and shortly after that start a stealth QE. And even in this instant, they couldn't say it's QE and they had to insist that it wasn't QE. The same thing is about to happen again.
Okay, there we go. So obviously he's going to go on and say the same thing he believes is about to happen again with our current Fed and, you know, us starting a stealth QE rather than officially announcing anything. But I don't know. Interesting thought. Some hopium maybe.
I mean, the thing is, the reason why this is all getting so weird and we can wrap up here in the next couple minutes. So expect us to wrap. But like you saw on at the end of that video, there was the title where it talked about the Fed ending, the Fed going to expand the balance sheet, but insists it's not QE. The cat's out of the bag now. The genie's out of the bottle. Everyone knows what QE is. So if they see it, it's going to be a signal to the market. So although it is QE, they have to say it's not, so they can kind of like calm people down, and so they don't just go full risk on, or it's not a signal to serious investors in the US that they're in a critical state. So they have to say it's not QE, right? But it is. And there's to me, that is a bigger tailwind than any chart, because there is technical analysis, but there's also fundamental analysis. And I feel like both work in concert, but you can't rely on just one or the other. I think both together work well. So we're coming into an area of high time frame demand on the chart, and we have one of the biggest tailwinds that we've seen in the last several years. And the others BTC chart that we showed you guys earlier is coming into a place of high time frame demand, right? So huge demand area, huge tailwind from the FA macro side. So yeah, I'm still bullish, still unbelievably bullish.
Can we go to this last Kobasi? How do you pronounce it? Kobasi tweet?
I don't know. I pronounce it differently than chill. I think whatever. The one I just said?
Yeah, I got it up if you want to share my screen.
It seems like a good kind of perspective summary.
Yeah, he ended up quote tweeting this tweet actually with something else, and I think it's a really good introduction. If I can view post engagements, there was a quote tweet that he posted on this, and I guess it's not visible.
Maybe just give us the TLDR.
But basically he said that all other markets are pumping except crypto, right? Like it's very weird to see that Bitcoin is falling so much price wise, but overall, like everything else is actually looking kind of decent. And let me see, here's the tweet right here. He calls it an isolated crypto sell-off. US stock market futures just opened and they're completely unfazed. Crypto has lost 100 billion since Friday, while the US stock market's futures are green. Meanwhile, gold just opened above 4,000. Yields are on the rise. The isolated nature of the minus 25% downturn further supports our view. This is a leverage and liquidation-based crypto bear market. A bottom forms when market structure is reestablished. And so that's when he kind of quote tweeted this tweet around, okay, what the heck is happening? Because we've erased over $1 trillion over the last, a little bit over a month, and that equated to about 27 billion per day. And obviously, Bitcoin officially turned red on the year. It's down 25% per month. And while this is happening, he says there hasn't been any material bearish developments on the fundamental side of crypto. Just days ago, President Trump said America being number one in crypto is his top priority, yet Bitcoin is minus 25% per month, right? So, and he kind of goes through some weekly flows, just kind of showing how we've been, money has been leaving the space. He said, just like, he said leverage is insane in this space. He even says when you have a lot of leverage in the system, when millions of traders are using leverage, this leads to a domino effect, both to the upside and to the downside. And then he says in this tweet, as a result, these sudden downswings in crypto happen in crypto, liquidation surges as seen on 1010. Excessive levels of leverage have resulted in seemingly hypersensitive market. So yeah, I mean, he just kind of goes through again, just all these things happening in crypto that are, the fear and greed sentiment. How gold is outperforming Bitcoin. He talked about how ETH is down 8.5% on the year after it, was actually going up for a decent while. And he looked at, when you look at the overall view of the market, just everything is red. Meanwhile, stocks are, stock futures were green, TradFi markets are looking good. So again, yeah, just liquidation event happening here on chain. Hope you guys are staying safe. We'll be covering this over the next week while we're on streams. And again, I'll be looking at Bitcoin for some reversal patterns. But I think that's it. We can wrap here. Maybe we go over the schedule for the week briefly to close. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I feel good about that. Let's do it. Chill. You got it.
Yeah, let me pull up the schedule.
Pretty light schedule we kept open. We filled a few of those slots, so maybe you're gonna have to note that. But
yeah,
we're in that phase of the market right now. No new launches. We've had literally just about every other ICM project on the show. So
meanwhile, 3.5 thousand. I mean, 3,500, not 3. Yeah, 3,000.
3.5 million viewers. Yeah.
Right. I'm like, holy crap.
That's the end of this run. We'll know it's it's a top. Yeah.
And when we have 3.5 million viewers, that's when MCG is getting sold.
Yeah, that's right.
So I appreciate you guys for tuning in, all 3,500 of you guys. We appreciate the support. If you're just tuning in, we're a weekly live stream MCG. This week, we had on today, Algon, Solo, Profit from MetaDAO came on today. Tomorrow, we have Cypher Labs on Wednesday, we have Pith Network. So pretty huge project there on Wednesday. We have Moby coming on Thursday with a huge buyback in revenue update. Shout out to Moby homies. Use the link down below, code MCG. And then on Friday, we have Memputer coming on. I know that's a nice project with a pretty strong community there. So interested to see their updates. And then we have another sponsor of ours coming on, Viva. Huge rollout update, and they've been doing some big things over there. We've been covering those announcements, so hopefully you guys have been keeping up with that. But essentially, that is the show. Pre-show starts at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. Typically, we're starting pre-show at 11:30, and we're now starting the stream a little bit earlier as well, starting at 12 p.m. Eastern. So you want to, if you want to catch some of our updates, some of our macro thoughts, some charts, some things we're looking at, you want to tune in live Monday to Thursday, Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern. Appreciate you all. Love you all. And we will see you in the next one.
Love.
Peace.
See you guys. Good luck.
Love.